Chapter 26:15. Yijun's face paled when she saw their clothes and she stared at Lu Yin. "You're from Heaven's Mirror Manor?" Lu Yin put down his teacup. "Deputy Manor Head of Heaven's Mirror Manor, Xianxia." Yijun suddenly lost all her strength and looked up. The scene of her delivering the message was still being broadcasted in the sky, and it was exactly the same. It was indeed a live broadcast, and even the words and expressions were exactly the same. How had this person done it? There was still a peak Void Realm expert on Yijun who was her subordinate, and that person was constantly monitoring her situation. This person should not have been able to spy on her. She could not figure out how Lu Yin had done it, no matter how hard she racked her brains. That peak Void Realm expert had also been captured. This person had received Yijun's favor in the endless battlefield and had willingly come to Yijun to help her. Whether or not he was a spy would only become clear after further investigation. Lu Yin did not see any information about this person in Yunwu's memories. However, when he had revealed that Yijun was a spy, this person's emotions had clearly fluctuated greatly. From Lu Yin's point of view, this person should not be a spy. Yijun had been confirmed as a spy by Heaven's Mirror Manor and had been taken away. This news shocked many, especially those who wanted to pursue Yijun. They all focused on Heaven's Mirror Manor and tried to find out more information about it. Heaven's Mirror Manor rarely received so much attention. News about Yunwu was also speculated by the outside world. After all, she had met with Yijun and Yijun had been confirmed as a spy. Yunwu had not come down after that, and everyone began to speculate about what had happened. Lu Yin specifically contacted Yun to apologize. Heaven's Mirror Manor would continue to hide the fact that Yunwu was a spy, and Yun could not do anything about it. After all, Yijun was involved. However, she did ask if this counted as redeeming herself. Lu Yin could not answer her question. Dealing with Yunwu was very troublesome. All of the spies claimed that they had been controlled by Qing Kong, which made it difficult for Heaven's Mirror Manor to make a decision. Lu Yin could not kill all of them, as there were indeed many who had been controlled by Qing Kong. These people did not want to be spies regardless of whether they were their friends or family. The outside world would not agree to execute all of them, as no one could guarantee that the people around them would not be controlled by Qing Kong. Lu Yin discovered that Qing Kong was the eternal powerhouse that the Six Direction Society wanted to eliminate the most. The interrogation of Yijun was naturally left to Ning Ran. Ning Ran had not expected Lu Yin to actually capture Yijun, and the evidence was irrefutable. Looking at Ning Ran's poisonous toad, Yijun was calm. She had already been proven to be a spy, so she didn't intend to explain anything. However, she also wouldn't say anything. The only thing she could say was, "I was controlled." Ning Ran naturally wouldn't believe such words directly. Everything would only be known after the interrogation. Within the City of Heaven's Reflection Prefecture, Suji exclaimed, "I never thought that you'd be able to capture Yijun so quickly. She's involved too many people." "Including you guys," Lu Yin said. Suji was calm. Suyu looked at him strangely. "So you're actually capable of something like this? You must have been faking it all along. You're too cunning." Lu Yin was solemn. "To deal with a spy, you're willing to do anything. Do you want the spy to run rampant?" Suyu glared at him. "Don't accuse me wrongly. How do you plan to deal with Yijun?" Suji asked. "You seem to care a lot about her? What? Do you like her?" Suji replied, "Capturing her is one thing, but dealing with her is another. If you deal with her the same way as those people from Heaven's Reflection Prefecture, then there's no point in us joining." "You didn't mention this when we joined," Lu Yin said. Suji looked at him. "Don't disappoint me." Lu Yin was speechless. Where did this guy get his confidence from? He must have said this many times, and it was like the mantra of the Spirit Palace. Everyone was so arrogant. "I'm going into seclusion for a while. You guys can discuss the results of Yijun's interrogation. If you can't deal with her, then wait for me to come out." "You're going into seclusion? How long?" Suyu asked. Lu Yin replied, "Not too long." Of course he was going into seclusion. If he didn't, how would he find other spies? Yijun wouldn't be so easy to interrogate, and he wouldn't be able to get anything out of her. He found a place to seclude himself and took out the hose skeleton. He released his Void God's power and raised his hand to summon his die. He tapped it and it slowly spun. 6 pips. Lu Yin's eyes widened. 6 pips? His consciousness appeared in a dark space. This time he looked around and found that the brightest orb of light around him was slightly dim, but he could only fuse with that one. He opened his eyes and stood in outer space. Aside from a few planets, there was nothing else around him. As the memories flooded in, Lu Yin's expression grew uglier. The person he had fused with wasn't a spy, but he wasn't much better than one. He was a selfish madman who would scheme against other families and sects to the point of annihilation for his own benefit. Countless people had died at his hands, and this person had participated in the endless battlefield. This was the most valuable information Lu Yin had obtained from this person's memories, but that was all there was to it. The slaughter in the endless battlefield was between humans and Eternals. Unless they were forced into a corner, humans generally wouldn't kill each other. However, this person specifically hunted humans and stole their resources to strengthen himself. Although this person wasn't a spy, he was even more detestable than a spy. Lu Yin frowned. Fusing with this person's body was disgusting, and he had killed himself without hesitation. When Lu Yin's consciousness returned to his body, the black and white fog in his heart rotated and increased by a sliver. He had completely forgotten about this. Committing suicide by fusing with someone else's body could increase death energy, and this was the only method Lu Yin had discovered. Other than that, he could only search for death energy left behind by the Grim Reaper. Letting that person commit suicide was a good thing. After all, that person's cultivation was close to that of a sixth tribulation origin cultivator, and he could cause great harm to others. If there was a chance, he could become a spy at any time. He raised his hand and continued rolling the die. A month passed in the blink of an eye. During this month, Ning ran and Yijun. The toad's effects were truly terrifying. Although Yijun didn't appear to be injured, her willpower was constantly being weakened. The pain brought about by the toad was simply too great. Although the Heaven's Reflection Manor didn't have much of a reputation, they still had many tricks up their sleeves. In particular, the Heaven's Reflection Manor spanned across the Six Directions Society. Not only did they have methods from the Void God spacetime, but they also had methods from other parallel spacetimes. Yijun's willpower was quite strong, but she still managed to persevere for the second month. She revealed a list of the people who had come into contact with her. The Heaven's Reflection Manor could find this list elsewhere, but Yijun's revelation was a good start. Yunwu and Yijun had contacted each other face-to-face, so it was very likely that Yijun had contacted the other spies face-to-face as well. However, the spy she had contacted on the mountain peak could not be found no matter how hard she tried. If Lu Yin had not broadcasted Yijun's message, it would have been impossible to convict Yijun through the news he had deliberately spread. Lu Yin was still in seclusion and there were no signs of him coming out. The entire Heaven's Reflection Manor was investigating that list, and anyone who had come into contact with Yijun wasn't simple. Fortunately, Suji was around and his status ensured that he could meet anyone. Others might not like the Heaven's Reflection Manor, but they couldn't not like Suji. Even if they could meet those who had come into contact with Yijun, it was useless. It was meaningless if they couldn't find out who the spy was. Suyu complained that Lu Yin was in seclusion and had left all the troublesome matters to them. Su Wuji had been there once and had been amazed by Lu Yin's efficiency in capturing Yijun. He didn't care much about this girl since he had already confirmed that she was a spy. A few more months passed and the Heaven's Reflection Manor wasn't completely empty-handed. They had caught quite a few spies before Lu Yin had joined them. Among the people who were in contact with Yijun, they continued to investigate and finally had some results. They caught 2 people, both of whom were spies that Yijun had developed. However, the third person was difficult for them. Even Suji could not catch that person. The crazy old man, the housekeeper, Suji, and Suyu all gathered together to discuss this matter. Are we really going to capture him? The crazy old man rarely spoke, but this time his expression was unprecedentedly serious. Guan Laoda's face sank and he didn't say a word. Gui-san carefully said, I think we should report this to the manor master. He's in seclusion, Suyu said. Gui-san replied, I mean the real manor master. The others looked at each other, but it seemed that this was the only way. Suji frowned. Lu Yin had invited him to join the Heaven's Reflection Manor to deal with people with powerful backgrounds. Even if the other party was from a virtual realm powerhouse's family, he would still be useful. Why are you all gathered here? Lu Yin appeared. San and the others relaxed when they saw that he had exited seclusion. No matter what, they didn't need to make a decision. Manor Master, it's only been half a year and you've already come out? Guan Laoda asked. Lu Yin nodded. I usually only go into seclusion for short periods of time. I only go into seclusion when I have a sudden epiphany. San hurriedly said, Epiphany? As expected of the Manor Master who passed the Void Gate. It's almost impossible for ordinary people to achieve epiphany. Only the Manor Master can do it so easily. Suyu rolled her eyes. Don't listen to him. Lu Yin was puzzled. Who were you guys talking about capturing? Everyone looked at each other and it was Su Ji who spoke up. We found 2 spies among those who have come into contact with Yi Jun. We're still investigating the rest. Lu Yin's eyes trembled. They had actually found 2 spies. Generally speaking, spies had very little contact with other spies, so it wasn't easy to detect them. The fact that 2 of them had been found so quickly proved that spies were rampant in this spacetime. There's one person we suspect to be a spy, but it won't be easy to capture him, Su Ji said. Lu Yin was curious. Who? Qingfeng, Su Ji said in a low voice. Everyone else's expressions turned solemn when they heard the name. Lu Yin raised his brows. Qingfeng? This person was a spy. Lu Yin had rolled the die many times over the past half year and had integrated himself into a few people's bodies. One of them was a spy, and the one who had developed this spy was Qingfeng. Qingfeng hadn't revealed his identity, but the spy had found out himself. This spy was quite smart. He knew that Qingfeng was the one who had developed him, but he hadn't told anyone. Lu Yin understood why they were so troubled when Qingfeng was mentioned. He knew a lot about Qingfeng, but he couldn't say that someone who had just arrived in the Void God spacetime knew so much about Qingfeng. This person wasn't an ordinary person. In fact, he was quite extraordinary. Why is it so hard to capture him? Even you can't do it? Lu Yin feigned curiosity. Chapter 26:16. Su Ji said in a low voice, Qingfen is very special and he can be considered handsome. You can think of him as the male version of Lord Yi. If that's all there is to it, then it wouldn't matter. The most troublesome part is that he has another identity, which is Lotus Lord's disciple. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. Lotus Sovereign's disciple? The other people's expressions became increasingly grim. You should know that in the reincarnation universe, there are 3 saints and the 9th stage venerated Lotus is one of them. His disciples are all over the 6 Directions Society, and anyone who catches his eye can be accepted as a disciple, regardless of background or cultivation level. As long as he is chosen, he will become a disciple of venerated Lotus. This Qingfeng is not only a disciple of venerated Lotus, but he has also been invited by venerated Lotus 3 times. Among all the disciples of venerated Lotus, he is rare. Although he is from the Nihility God universe, he is more respected in the reincarnation universe. The insane old man sighed. If we capture this one person, we'll have to face many of Lotus Sovereign's disciples, as well as the 9th stage Lotus Sovereign backing them. This person has been invited by Venerable Lotus 3 times, so you can imagine how much she values him, San said carefully. He then looked at Lu Yin. Academy Master, I think we should report this to Academy Master Limitless and ask him to make a decision. Even the Limitless Institute's master wouldn't be willing to step in when facing a 9th stage Venerable Lotus. Unless we have a way to confirm that Qingfen is a spy, we'll be able to make the final decision without giving him any chance to refute. Otherwise, Venerable Lotus disciple will be our biggest obstacle. Lu Yin clasped his hands behind his back. He had been thinking about how to capture Qingfen while he was in seclusion, and he knew everything that they were talking about. Against the disciples of the Lotus Lord, the 3 venerables and 9 sages, a single mistake would spell trouble. It wasn't that Senior Lotus would protect a spy unless she was certain that this person was a spy. Even Grand Empyreans wouldn't protect this person. As long as she couldn't be sure, this person couldn't be touched. Touching this person would be disrespectful to Senior Lotus and would attract more disciples. It was just like Lu Yin's above the heavens. Anyone who dared to touch someone from the above the heavens would incur Lu Yin's wrath, unless he was certain that the person was a spy. What are you going to do? Su Ji asked as he watched Lu Yin's back. Lu Yin asked, why did Venerable Lotus invite this person 3 times? Singing, said Su Yu. Lu Yin was surprised. Singing. Su Yu nodded with a look of worship in her eyes. Qingfen's singing is the most beautiful song in human history, and it has the effect of healing people's hearts. It's simply too beautiful. Lu Yin looked at Su Ji and then at Crazy Old Man and the others. They all nodded. I have to say his voice is really beautiful. I've heard it once. I've heard of it once. Guan Lao grinned. I heard it once too. Although it was far away, the singing was really. He couldn't describe it. It can make people put down their weapons, Yu Pai said. Have you all heard of it? Lu Yin was astonished. Every year Qingfen sings at a fixed place. I don't know who he sings to, but at that time, countless people gather to listen. After all, his singing can even move a 9th stage Venerable Lotus. Basically, all the famous cultivators in the Nihility God universe should have heard of him, including the big shots of the Six Directions Society from the Outer Realms. It's not just Lotus venerated Lotus. The Star Lords of the Three Sovereigns universe have also invited Qingfen to sing. Many others want to hear him sing, Su Yu reminded him. Lu Yin exhaled. This was more troublesome than he had imagined. Yi Jun couldn't compare to such a person, and the entire Six Paths Society would be in an uproar. They would go crazy and come looking for him. Unless you make him admit that he's a spy, it'll be too difficult to do anything to him, Crazy Old Man said again. Su Yu was in a difficult position. The problem is that even we can't be sure if he's a spy, let alone make him admit it. What if he's not? We'll be in big trouble. Lu Yin fell into deep thought. He had been in seclusion for half a year, and knew that Qingfen was a spy by the 4th month. He also understood that this person was difficult to capture, so he had spent the next 2 months trying to merge into Qingfen's body. The only way was to try his luck, but unfortunately he hadn't succeeded yet. It was impossible to deal with Qingfen like he had with Yi Jun. Now the entire Void God universe knew that Xianxia was the master of the Heaven's Reflection Hall, and they also knew what methods he had used to capture Yi Jun. Qingfen had to be very cautious. And if he could be dealt with so easily, he wouldn't have been able to hide from Lotus venerated Lotus. The only way was to use the spy he had developed to make Qingfen give himself away. How's the news of us capturing Yi Jun spreading? Lu Yin suddenly asked. Speaking of this, Gui San immediately flattered. Of course it's amazing. The outside world admires your skills very much. They all say that you are the nemesis of the spies, the nemesis of the eternal race. Under your leadership, the spies of the Nihility universe will be terrified and will not dare to come again. The Heaven's View mansion will also be swept away and be brand new. Estate Master, you don't know how many people have been shocked by Yi Jun. Now many people are staring at us. Your deeds have spread throughout the virtual God universe and even spread to other parallel universes. Many people have adapted your deeds into stories to promote. Lu Yin rubbed his head. Get to the point. You're too amazing. You're able to predict things like a god. Gui San's conclusion made Lu Yin's heart sink even further. Does that mean that the outside world knows everything about Yunwu? Gui San was embarrassed. The others didn't answer. They knew that Lu Yin had a good relationship with the Scenic Cloud clan, and Su Wuji had promised not to publicize Yunwu's matter. Now that Yi Jun's capture had spread the news of Yunwu, it wouldn't be good for the Scenic Cloud clan. Lu Yin wasn't thinking about the Scenic Cloud clan, as they could bear the loss of a spy. He was more concerned about the fact that he had used Yunwu to capture Yi Jun, and it would be impossible to use Qingfen's spies to trap him. Qingfen wasn't stupid, and as a spy he would definitely pay more attention to this matter. With his status he would definitely know more than the others. He might even know what Lu Yin had said. Suddenly, Lu Yin thought of someone who had been forgotten and left behind in Mount Supreme. This person shouldn't have been of any use to him, but now he could be useful. A few days later, a piece of news spread from the Heaven's Mirror Manor that caught the attention of many in the Void God spacetime. Tu Shuangshuang had appeared. Tu Shuangshuang, an elite genius under the Sanctification sect. She should have had a brilliant life, at least surpassing the majority. However, this woman had betrayed humanity and became a spy. She had even taken Qing Kong as her master and made a move against all the elites of the Six Paths sect. Everything she had done had made her the focus of the Six Paths sect, and her whereabouts had always been a mystery. No one had expected Tu Shuangshuang to appear in the Void God spacetime and be caught by the Heaven's Mirror Manor. The Heaven's Mirror Manor announced that anyone who provided clues about Tu Shuangshuang would be rewarded, and anyone who captured or killed her would have a chance to take Su Wuji as their master. Su Wuji was a virtual Grand Realm expert and there weren't many in the Void God spacetime. Taking Su Wuji as a master meant reaching the heavens in a single step, and he was on the same level as Su Ji and the others. This kind of temptation wasn't something that anyone could ignore. Suddenly, the entire Void God spacetime moved and countless people came out to search for Tu Shuangxuang. Even some of the older generation experts who were cultivating in seclusion were alarmed. They also wanted to take Su Wuji as their master. At this moment, some people who sold information in the Void God spacetime became popular. However, it wasn't because their business was booming but because they were being chased and intercepted. No one believed that these people would sell information about Tu Shuangxuang to others. They would definitely do it themselves, and those who didn't have any clues could only keep an eye on these people. These people were most likely to find Tu Shuangxuang. Gradually, this news spread to the reincarnation spacetime, and it attracted the attention of the Sanctification sect. They all thought of ways to enter the Void God spacetime to search for Tu Shuangxuang. No one hated Tu Shuangxuang more than them. The Sanctification sect had become a laughingstock because of Tu Shuangxuang. Just this piece of news caused the Void God spacetime to become the focus of countless people in the Six Direction Society. The Broken Cliff was a very famous place in the Void God spacetime. It was all because of Qingfen, who attracted countless people with his beautiful and dreamy voice. He even attracted the attention of the 9th grade Lotus Venerable. He invited Qingfen 3 times, making this place one of the most eye-catching places in the entire Void God spacetime. Every year, countless people waited around the Broken Cliff, just to listen to a song, even if it was just a sentence. The Broken Cliff wasn't a planet, but a piece of land in the starry sky. It was called the Broken Cliff because of its broken shape. This piece of land wasn't small, and there were hundreds of empires of various sizes inside. However, since Qingfen became famous in the Six Direction Society, those empires disappeared, leaving the Broken Cliff in peace. Under the majestic snow mountain, a man raised his arms in the wind, allowing the cold wind to pierce his bones. His white clothes fluttered in the wind as if an immortal had descended. He was handsome and handsome. He was Qingfen. At the foot of the snow mountain was a very ordinary village. There were no experts in it, and the people here were all ordinary people. This was Qingfen's hometown, the place where he was born. Although the people in the village didn't cultivate, they could live for a long time under Qingfen's care. As the cold wind gradually weakened, Qingfen lowered his arms and looked up at the starry sky. This wasn't the place closest to the starry sky, but it was his favorite place. When he was young, he met the person who changed his life here, giving him the chance to take charge of his own life. Not long after, Qingfen walked down the snow mountain. Someone was waiting for him at the foot of the mountain. It was a woman with a graceful appearance. She didn't stand out, but her temperament was very good. She was like an orchid in an empty valley with a refreshing fragrance. Tu Shuangxuang has appeared, the woman said. Her name was Lingmu, and she was a disciple of the Lotus Venerable. She just happened to be in the Void God spacetime, so she came to Qingfen's place. Qingfen asked, "Does the Lotus Venerable have any orders?" "No," Lingmu said. Qingfen nodded. Tu Shuangxuang is nothing in the Lotus Venerable's eyes. "It's an opportunity for you," Lingmu said. Qingfen didn't understand. Lingmu looked at him. "Do you want to stay here and sing for the rest of your life? Although your status in the Void God universe is very high because of the Lotus Venerable, this is all you can do. If you can take this opportunity to capture Tu Shuangxuang, I can put in a good word for you in front of the Lotus Venerable and let you join the reincarnation universe. With the Lotus Venerable's help, you might have a chance to become a saint." Chapter 26:17. Qingfen looked calm when he heard Lingmu's words, but a fervent look flashed in the depths of his eyes. Who wouldn't want to become a saint? But could he really do it? In fact, his cultivation talent was average. Normally, he would never have the opportunity to become an extreme powerhouse. The only exception was the reincarnation spacetime, where the position of an extreme powerhouse could be bestowed. Capturing spies for the human race is a must. I will use all my connections to find Tu Shuangxuang. As for the position of sanctification, it will depend on fate, Qingfeng said. Lingmu laughed. The position of Great Stone Saint was bestowed upon an outsider that no one knows. Why can't the position of sanctification be bestowed upon you? Seize this opportunity and you'll become a future saint. After saying this, she left. She had come here to say this. In terms of relationship, she had the best relationship with Qing Feng. If Qing Feng could become a saint, it would be beneficial to her. As for herself, it was impossible. It seemed that anyone could inherit the positions of the 3 venerables and 9 saints, but there were some rules that only the people of samsara time and space could understand. After Lingmu left, Qingfen's eyes burned with passion. He had a chance to become a saint. He had to have a chance. Of course, his chances were not high, but if he had that person's help, even if his opponent was a void transformation realm expert, he would still have a chance. It was time to contact that person. He turned and entered the village. Within the village, those who saw Qingfen all warmly greeted him. "Little Feng, you're back. You're not going to practice anymore? You're back early today." Qingfen smiled and nodded. "No, uncle, I'll water you later. You must be tired. Third aunt, your clothes are so tattered, you should change them." "Got it, little Feng. Go do what you need to do." "Good girl." The journey was not long, but Qingfeng walked for more than 10 minutes. Feeling the warmth, smoke rose from the kitchen. It was time to cook again. Qingfen lived alone in a wooden house in the easternmost part of the village. There was no one to serve him and no one to disturb him. He naturally lit a fire and cooked just like an ordinary person. The rumors outside are correct. You are indeed the closest to nature. A cold voice sounded from the corner of the wooden house. Qingfen paused. "Please leave. No one is welcome here. Including me." A woman walked out from a dark corner. It was Tu Shuangshuang. Qingfen looked over and was surprised. "Tu Shuangshuang?" Tu Shuangshuang raised her head. "Qingfen, long time no see." Qingfen's gaze was piercingly cold. "You traitor, you actually dared to appear here. I'll definitely capture you and avenge Senior Hua Sheng. I'll also get rid of this human spy." Tu Shuangshuang sneered. "You and I are the same. Why are you pretending? What nonsense are you talking about?" Qingfen yelled. Tu Shuangshuang stared at him coldly. "The entire Void God universe wants to capture me, but I can leave whenever I want. But if I leave, some things will never be done. I want to make a deal with you." "I won't trade with a spy," Qingfen rebuked angrily. Tu Shuangshuang sneered. "I've already said that you don't need to pretend. I know your identity very well. Do you want to become a saint?" Qingfen's pupils shrank. "What did you say? What did he mean? My identity? I won't talk nonsense with you. I'll teach you the secret of the heaven transformation technique and let you surpass everyone else in terms of cultivation. But at the same time, you have to help me put in a good word in front of Master and ask him to let me go this time," Tu Shuangshuang said. Qingfen frowned. "What nonsense. Senior Transcendent has already died in battle, so how can I help you? And I won't help a traitor like you. I'm talking about Qing Kong. Still playing dumb. Do you want the position of a saint or not?" Tu Shuangshuang was impatient. Qingfen's eyes flashed as he stared at Tu Shuangshuang. Tu Shuangshuang also stared at him. The two of them looked at each other and the atmosphere was silent. After a while, Qingfen exhaled. "I can't see Qing Kong." Tu Shuangshuang said, "As long as you send a message to the clan, just say that I helped you obtain the position of a saint and serve the clan better. My master will see it." Qingfen narrowed his eyes. "How can I believe you? I can stay and wait for you to make progress with the heaven transformation technique before leaving. Anyway, no one will disturb you here. No one will dare to go against Lotus Venerable's orders," Tu Shuangshuang said. Qingfen had met Lotus Venerable 3 times, and Lotus Venerable had asked him what he wanted. He had asked Lotus Venerable to protect the lives of the villagers so that they could live as long as possible. He had asked for no one to set foot on the peak of the snowy mountain so that he could practice singing there. He had also asked for no one to enter the village so that it would be his world. These 3 requests had earned Lotus Venerable's praise and made Qingfen admired and respected by countless people. With Lotus Venerable's orders, no one dared to set foot on the peak of the snowy mountain or the village. No one even dared to enter the cliff for fear of offending Qingfen. Only a limited number of people actually dared to enter. Qingfen agreed. Tu Shuangshuang heaved a sigh of relief. "I can teach you the heaven transformation technique now." Qingfen said, "No rush, I'll cook first." As he spoke, he took out some wood and threw it into the stove. Tu Shuangshuang was stunned. This word was too far away for cultivators. Suddenly, a lotus bloomed under his feet. Qingfen abruptly turned around. "You want to capture me? Tu Shuangshuang, you can't escape." This shout spread across the cliff and into the starry sky. Even though Qingfen's cultivation talent was average, he had accumulated countless resources over the years. In addition to Lotus Venerable's appreciation of him, he was now at the Void Realm. Tu Shuangshuang's cultivation was at the Immortal Realm. Qingfen attacked with Lotus Venerable's power. Tu Shuangshuang was injured and flew out. Qingfen hurriedly chased after her. Tu Shuangshuang didn't expect Qingfen to do this. He turned around and fled. Outside the cliff, many people looked over. Tu Shuangshuang? Why is Tu Shuangshuang here? Not good. Tu Shuangshuang wants to capture Qingfen. Go. Qingfen raised his hand and the lotus treasure enveloped Tu Shuangshuang. There was a fanatical look in his eyes. As long as he captured her, he would be able to make a contribution. Lingmu's words echoed in his ears. Compared to that, so what if he learned the heaven transformation technique? That Xianxi's cultivation talent was shocking, but he still couldn't become the great stone saint. He only wanted to capture Tu Shuangshuang and make a contribution. Borrowing Lotus Venerable's power to fight for the position of saint was much safer than making a deal with Tu Shuangshuang. From what he knew, the Lotus Venerable's personal lotus treasure was enough to capture Tu Shuangshuang in front of everyone. Even if Tu Shuangshuang exposed him like a mad dog, it would be useless. He didn't have to worry about Qing Kong either. The person behind him wasn't someone Qing Kong could afford to offend. Tu Shuangshuang was just a tool to him. That was all. Qingfen, you're crazy. Tu Shuangshuang watched the lotus treasure descend and saw Qingfen's fanatical look. Tu Shuangshuang, I will avenge Senior Saint. Qingfen shouted. Silhouettes appeared in the sky one after another. Tu Shuangshuang was helpless under the gazes of countless people. Of course, she wasn't the real Tu Shuangshuang but rather Lu Yin in disguise. His goal was to expose Qingfen, but it was a pity that Qingfen wasn't just cautious, he was also very smart. Looking at the fanatical look in his eyes, could it be that he wanted to use Tu Shuangshuang as an opportunity to do something? Lu Yin would never have dreamed that Lingmu had arrived before him and changed Qingfen's thoughts, drawing out his ambitions. Otherwise, things might not have turned out this way. Seeing the lotus treasure descend, Lu Yin had no choice but to leave. Qingfen thought that he would definitely be able to capture Tu Shuangshuang, but as the lotus treasure descended, Tu Shuangshuang disappeared. He took a few steps forward and looked into the lotus treasure. Where was Tu Shuangshuang? At that moment, silhouettes descended one after another. Where's Tu Shuangshuang? Where's Tu Shuangshuang? Qingfen, are you all right? Where's Tu Shuangshuang? Everyone wanted to know where Tu Shuangshuang had gone, but no one could see her clearly. Qingfen's face paled. Tu Shuangshuang was gone? Far away from the cliff, Lu Yin walked out and looked back. He had failed, which was both unexpected and expected. It was normal for some spies to be overly cautious, but he was also certain that Qingfen had nothing to do with Qing Kong. Otherwise, Qingfen would not have spoken to Tu Shuangshuang in such a manner. He was also certain that Tu Shuangshuang did not know his identity. Lu Yin had to think of another way, and just as he was about to meet up with the people from the Heaven's Reflection Manor, his eyes flashed and he left. The next moment, a silhouette appeared and then disappeared. Someone was following him. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed in disbelief. He had relied on his innate gift of space to leave, but he was still being followed? Who was it? It was definitely not a progenitor, or else he would have been in danger. Who else could possibly follow him? Lu Yin did not meet up with the people from the Heaven's Reflection Manor, and he maintained Tu Shuangshuang's appearance as he continued to travel through the void. The person following Lu Yin was shocked as well. This person was definitely not Tu Shuangshuang, and he had such control over space. When had such a powerful expert appeared in the younger generation? Could it be an innate gift? Just like that, the two silhouettes continued to travel through the void. Lu Yin was certain that the person behind him had a control over space that was definitely not inferior to his own, and the person behind him was also shocked by Lu Yin's control over space. At the cliff, Qingfen and the rest were still searching for Tu Shuangshuang. Jiang Xiaodao and Little Lian had arrived, and they had both walked out of the six-direction training hall. Little Lian had wanted to look for Qingfen to listen to some music, but Jiang Xiaodao had shamelessly tagged along, leaving Little Lian helpless. As soon as they arrived, they heard that Tu Shuangshuang had wanted to capture Qingfen. Little Lian was concerned. Brother Qingfen, are you all right? Qingfen's face was still a little pale, but he still managed to smile. I'm fine. Thank you for your concern, little Lien. Jiang Xiaodao rolled his eyes and made a face at little Lien. Why is that Tu Shuangxuang here? How despicable. She actually wants to capture brother Qingfen. Little Lien raged. Lingmu had arrived as well, and when she saw little Lien she was shocked. Junior sister, why are you here? Senior sister Lingmu. Little Lien's eyes lit up and she grabbed Lingmu's hand. Senior sister, you have to capture Tu Shuangxuang. That bad woman actually wants to capture brother Qingfen. Lingmu looked at Qingfen and asked in a low voice, what happened? Qingfen explained everything that had happened, but of course he did not mention Lu Yin's conditions. He only said that Tu Shuangxuang had wanted to capture him and had used Dreamscape to control him. When she heard this, Lingmu grew anxious. Where is she? You didn't capture her? Qingfen sighed. I didn't. You didn't use the power vessel that venerated Lotus gave you. Lingmu grew anxious as she felt like she was dreaming. She had just said that she wanted to capture Tu Shuangxuang, and then she had suddenly appeared. It was too much of a coincidence. Qingfen was helpless. I did, but Tu Shuangxuang just vanished. No one knows where she went. Even venerated Lotus power vessel couldn't trap her? That's impossible. This was Lingmu's first reaction. Little Lien added, Master's power vessel couldn't trap Tu Shuangxuang? Jiang Xiaodao and the rest were astonished as well, as they did not quite believe it. However, they had personally witnessed Tu Shuangxuang's disappearance. Chapter 26:18. Lingmu sighed as she could not blame Qingfen for this. How could Qingfen deal with someone who could not even trap Venerate Lotus? Search immediately and split up. Right, where's the Heaven's Reflection Manor? Why hasn't anyone from the manor come? Xiaoyan clenched her fists. The Heaven's Reflection Manor's responsibility is to deal with spies, but they put brother Qingfen in danger. We must reprimand them. Even without Xiaoyan's reminder, Lingmu would have done so. Tu Shuangxuang had come all the way here, but the Heaven's Reflection Manor had no news at all. They were too useless. Although the Heaven's Reflection Manor did not have a good reputation, they should at least be of some use. Once this matter was over, she would definitely report to Venerate Lotus so that she could properly discipline the Heaven's Reflection Manor. Elsewhere, on a planet covered in a green corrosive liquid, Lu Yin stopped and did not move. A black shadow appeared behind him and distorted the void, but it also stopped in place. You've been following me for so long. What can I do for you? Lu Yin asked. Who are you? The shadow behind him asked. This voice made Lu Yin feel as if he had been struck by lightning. It was too familiar. This voice was far too familiar. It was the Witcher spirit god. Lu Yin had not expected the witch spirit god to be the one following him. No, more accurately, it was the witch spirit god's clone from the void god's spacetime. To investigate Qingfen, even the 7 gods' avatars had appeared. Lu Yin turned around and stared at the shadow. Sure enough, it was not a person but rather a strange doll. It was the witch spirit god doll. On the 5th mainland, the witch spirit god had not displayed such control over space. Was it because he did not have the time to do so, or was he unwilling to do so? No, perhaps he had overdone it. Back when the witch spirit god had attacked Xia Ziheng, Lu Yin had not been able to understand many of the attacks, but he had been able to sense danger. Those attacks might have been related to space. Right, the witch spirit god could hide his source box array in the void, which showed his control over space. Speak. Who are you? The witch spirit god doll made a strange sound and swayed about, as if everything was under its control. Lu Yin, who was disguised as Tu Shuangxuang, suddenly released void god power that swept towards the witch spirit god doll. The shaman spirit doll cackled, Kiki, you're courting death. As soon as it finished speaking, Lu Yin's 5 senses interchanged. His eyes appeared on the back of his hand, and his sense of smell appeared on the side of his leg. He smelled that green liquid that was filled with a corrosive and pungent smell. The doll slowly approached Lu Yin, giving him a feeling that he could not avoid it. Lu Yin stared at the space and watched as the lines were pushed aside by the witch spirit god. This old freak definitely had control over space, and it was no wonder why it was so strange. At that moment, Lu Yin also saw a source box array within the spatial lines. This old freak would hide a source box array wherever he went. The shaman spirit doll was puzzled. Little guy, you seem to be in a place that you can't see. Lu Yin stared at him and then raised a hand to summon a bone spike. In an instant, void god's power crazily spread out, and Lu Yin casually tossed it out. The divine witch spirit child was shocked. In his eyes, the bone spike was connected to the line of space. There was no way to avoid it. How could this be? A rare treasure that could control space. The bone spear approached the witch spirit god doll's forehead, and Lu Yin did not hold back. Against an old monster from the 7 godheads, holding back would be courting death. Back in the astral tree realm, Lu Yin had used everything except his progenitor's power, but he had still not been able to stop the witch spirit god. The witch spirit god's half-progenitor clone had almost annihilated the entire 7 Quartz Yu bloodline. The witch spirit god doll frantically shot through the spatial lines, and so did the bone spear. If there were outsiders here, they would have noticed that neither the bone spear nor the witch spirit god doll had moved from their original positions. However, they did not seem very real as they were both still and moving. No one could get close to them. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. The witch spirit god really did control space, and this strange doll was able to do this. If the bone spear did not contain void god power, then Lu Yin would not have been confident in dealing with it. However, the void god power within the bone spear had been personally imbued by the void master, and with Lu Yin's current realm of void god power, he could draw out void god power that was 20 times his own. What did 20 times mean? It was comparable to an all-out attack from a half-progenitor. Lu Yin's eyes went wide and his void god power surged. He took a step forward and ignored his 5 senses as he coughed up a mouthful of blood and chased after the witch spirit god doll. The witch spirit god doll cackled. "Little thing, you're courting death." A source box array appeared in the void as it attacked Lu Yin. Lu Yin dodged the source box array and then took out the Ho bird skeleton and smashed it at the witch spirit god doll. He also drew out void god power to the limit, as well as the destructive power of a half-progenitor. The witch spirit god doll did not mind, as no matter how many attacks landed on it, they could not touch it. However, Lu Yin was constantly forced to dodge by the source box array, and he was now back-to-back with the witch spirit god doll. He took advantage of this opportunity to take out his slipper and smash it down. In the past, it had been normal for Lu Yin to use his slipper to slap someone, and it had even looked like a normal person using a slipper to slap someone. But now, the witch spirit god doll could see that the slipper could actually touch space and cut it apart. The witch spirit god would never have guessed that he was facing Lu Yin. The Eternals were all too familiar with Lu Yin, and they could easily recognize all of Lu Yin's techniques. However, Lu Yin was currently using void god power and a bone spike. This was a new power which caused the witch spirit god to not think in Lu Yin's direction. In a moment of carelessness, the strange doll's head was struck by the slipper, and at the same time the bone spike pierced through it. The witch spirit god doll's half-progenitor avatar was torn apart. It screamed, "Who are you?" The doll's back was facing Lu Yin, and it did not even see that it was the slipper that had struck it. The entire process had only taken an instant, and the witch spirit god doll had been shattered. It was impossible for the doll's main body to obtain any information from this avatar, just like how Blacklist God had been destroyed by Mr. Mu's million cities. Lu Yin had killed a 7-god sky avatar to silence it. Panting heavily, Lu Yin put away the slipper, the Ho bird skeleton and the bone spike. Destroying a 7-god sky half-progenitor avatar was even more tiring than fighting a progenitor. The witch spirit god's control of space was almost invincible, and if not for the fact that the witch spirit god's tracking had been an accident and that he had been prepared, Lu Yin would not have been confident in destroying the witch spirit god. Only after fighting such an existence did Lu Yin realize how terrifying Mr. Mu had been when he had destroyed Blacklist God's avatar. Mr. He Mu had been calm and collected, but the difference between them had been too great. If Lu Yin had known about this difference back then, his understanding of Mr. Mu's strength would have been much more accurate. There was nothing left at the original spot, and the witch spirit god doll had been destroyed. Everything had vanished into thin air and even the corpse was gone. Lu Yin left the planet to prevent others from seeing him. How important was Qingfen that the witch spirit god's avatar would protect her? Hold on. Lu Yin suddenly recalled that the witch spirit god had protected Qingfen, which meant that Qingfen knew about the witch spirit god's existence. If that was the case, could he replace the witch spirit god? When he thought of this, Lu Yin made a prompt decision to disguise himself as the witch spirit god doll and head towards the cliff. At the same time, Lingmu and the others' questions made Lu Yin feel uncomfortable. Boss and the others felt a headache coming on. As a disciple of venerated Lotus, Lingmu did not care about the Heaven's Mirror Manor at all. Her attitude was quite vile and she was just short of cursing them. Guan Laoda and the others did not dare to retort, as the consequences of offending a disciple of Venerated Lotus were severe. There were many disciples of Venerated Lotus in the Six Direction Association, and offending one was equivalent to offending a whole group. Fortunately, Suji had stepped in to stop Lingmu, or else the people from the Heaven's Mirror Manor would have been cursed by her. Everyone was sullen and they tried to contact Lu Yin, but they could not reach him. I knew this guy was useless. He got carried away just because he was a little clever. Now that something has happened, we're being questioned, but he's gone. Suyu was dissatisfied. Gui-san was worried. Will the Manor Lord be all right? Who knows how many disciples of Venerated Lotus came? If there's a Void Transformation Realm cultivator, then he might not be able to escape. The crazy old man was calm. You're underestimating Taishian. With Taishian, even a Void Transformation Realm cultivator won't be able to capture the Manor Lord. Guan Laoda nodded. The Manor Lord will be fine. He thinks he's smart, but he got us into trouble, Suyu said. Suji said, spies don't trust others that easily. Even spies will be cautious. We can only say that Qingfen is too cautious, or... He looked at the others. It really isn't a spy. Suyu said, I don't think it's a spy. Otherwise, if Tu Shuangshuang was exposed, wouldn't he be afraid that Chen Kong would come looking for trouble? Not necessarily, the crazy old man pondered. If there's a bigger scheme, then sacrificing Tu Shuangshuang isn't impossible. The Manor Lord's actions can be considered giving us a direction. Just wait, he'll tell us when he returns. He has his own judgment. Not long after, Suji received a message from Lu Yin. Go to the cliff. He's still at the cliff? Gui-sen cried out. The crazy old man said, it seems like it's not over yet. Since that disciple of Venerated Lotus looks down on our Heaven's Mirror Manor, then let's go meet her. At the cliff, everyone had long since left. Qingfen was fine and Tu Shuangshuang had escaped. There was no reason for them to stay, so they all went to search for Tu Shuangshuang. Brother Qingfen, don't worry. That Tu Shuangshuang will definitely be caught. Little Lian clenched her fists. Qingfen smiled. I know. Sister Little Lian seems to have grown up after her trip to the Six Direction Training Hall. Really? Little Lian was very happy. Jiang Xiaodao bared his teeth. Qingfen, you must be scared. Do you still dare to sing? Sister Little Lian came all the way here just to hear you sing. Lingmu was displeased. Rest for a while. Qingfen replied, it's fine. Sister Little Lian came all the way here, so how can I disappoint her? He then smiled at Little Lian. What do you want to hear? Is that really okay? Little Lian blinked and looked at Lingmu. Lingmu was helpless. Tell me, what do you want to hear? Little Lian was not an ordinary disciple of Venerated Lotus. Both Lingmu and Qingfen addressed her as Venerated Lotus, but Little Lian was the only one who addressed her as Master. These were two different concepts, so no one dared to ignore her. She rolled her eyes. I want to hear Star Song. Qingfen smiled. All right then, Star Song it is. That's great. Jiang Xiaodao, let's go out. You're not going to listen here? Brother Qingfen is going to sing. Don't get close. Let's go. Chapter 26:19. Lingmu left the cliff as well, feeling regretful that she had been so close. If she had known earlier, she would not have left. Qingfen was even more regretful, but he would not show it in front of Little Lian. He would always maintain an untainted image, just like the village below. The smoke and fire seemed to have broken away from the cultivation world. It was close to nature and comforting. Soon, a beautiful voice spread out like a ripple, intoxicating Xiaolian and the others who heard it. Lu Yin heard it and stared at the cliff in shock. This song was able to affect his emotions, and it was truly beautiful. It was as if the song was painting a picture and he could see stars twinkling in the sky. It made his blood boil with excitement. This was a song that could move a person's emotions. Lu Yin thought of Luotian. Her dance could also move a person's emotions. If they worked together, the scene would be even more beautiful. It was a pity that Qingfen was a spy. The song continued and Lu Yin entered the village. The commoners could not see him. He had felt that something was off when he had disguised himself as Tu Shuangshuang, but he wanted to take a closer look. Third aunt, help me hold the ladder. The house is broken and it leaks when it rains. Sure, wait a minute. I'll wipe the handle. Old man, water the ground when you have time. We're still waiting for a good harvest next year. Puff. This old man is coughing. I don't have the energy. Go away. You won't die anyway. It's good that you're dead. Shoo. Lu Yin listened to the people in the village talk, and he gradually realized that something was wrong. These commoners had been given a long life, and even their appearances had not changed much. They lived day after day, year after year, and their lives were leisurely and ordinary. This should be what most people pursued. To these commoners it was immortality, but did they really pursue it? If the world was prosperous and exciting, then immortality would be a form of pleasure. For example, cultivators could go into seclusion for hundreds or even thousands of years. They pursued the peak of cultivation, fought for resources, and climbed one peak after another. This was a process of cultivation, but what about commoners? They fetched water, irrigated, sewed clothes, repaired houses, and did these things day after day. What joy could these things bring them? They would never leave the village, and even if they lived forever, they would only be able to move around in this village. What was the point of living? To them, growing old was the true meaning of life. They had nothing here, but they had to live for a long time. This was not life, but torture. Their gazes were numb. Even though Qingfen's singing was so pleasant to the ears, it was unable to affect their emotions at all. They were only ordinary people. Even a cultivator who was close to becoming a half-martial ancestor would be affected by Qingfen's singing. However, they were not affected. It could only be said that they had long since become numb and had lost their pursuit of life. These people would rather die than live like this. Death should be very simple for ordinary people, but to them it was unattainable. The so-called taking care of nature and treating his hometown well were just wishful thinking on Qingfen's part. He was using the existence of these people to satisfy his own desires. How could others not see this? Lu Yin looked up at the sky. Could the high and mighty venerable lotus not tell? When the singing stopped, the people in the village acted as if they didn't know what was going on and went about their business numbly. Qingfen returned. Uncle, I'll hold the ladder for you. The middle-aged man was grateful, but his gaze did not change. Third aunt, why haven't you changed your clothes? It's already so broken. Qingfen looked over. The old woman hurriedly wiped her hands. I'm coming. Qingfen smiled, feeling very satisfied. He liked this kind of scene just like when he was young. These people had treated him well, and he had hoped to give them as long as possible. This was what they wanted, wasn't it? Qingfen returned to his own house. The house that had been destroyed by the attack on Tu Shuangshuang was being rebuilt with the help of the villagers. Qingfen smiled even more happily. This was what it meant to be simple. After a few days, the wooden house was repaired and Qingfen moved in. It looked exactly the same as before. The sky darkened and a strange doll appeared. Kiki. The strange laughter was the trademark of the shaman spirit, and when Qingfen heard it, he hurriedly stood up and saw the shaman spirit doll floating nearby. He bowed respectfully. My lord. Aside from the doll, there was another figure lying on the ground. It was Tu Shuangshuang. Qingfen's eyes burned with passion. My lord, you captured Tu Shuangshuang? The shaman spirit doll lowered its voice. The heaven's reflection manor is coming. They're here to capture Tu Shuangshuang. How should we deal with them? Qingfen asked. How do you want to deal with them? The shaman spirit doll asked. Qingfen's eyes flashed and he gritted his teeth. I hope that my lord will give me a chance to better serve the clan. You've already done very well. The shaman spirit doll laughed strangely. What else do you want? Qingfen's heart trembled and he knelt down. He made a great decision and said, let me capture Tu Shuangshuang and hand her over to the Lotus Sovereign. I hope that the Lotus Sovereign will grant me the right to inherit the position of sanctification. You want to become a sanctification? The shaman spirit doll asked calmly. Qingfen couldn't tell if the shaman spirit god was happy or angry. According to the mission that the shaman spirit god had given him, he shouldn't have made such a request. However, this was a rare opportunity and he still wanted to fight for it. Moreover, he believed that his value was enough, and even if the shaman spirit god was dissatisfied, the shaman spirit god wouldn't do anything to him. If I can become a sanctification, then I can better serve the clan. If you become a sanctification, how do you want to serve? The shaman spirit god laughed strangely. Qingfen was stunned. Becoming a sanctification was a height that he couldn't understand. He didn't know what he could and couldn't do, and speaking carelessly would only lower his chances. For a moment, Qingfen was speechless. I gave you a chance but you didn't say it yourself. Don't blame me. The shaman spirit doll laughed strangely. Qingfen gritted his teeth and prostrated himself on the ground. Please give me a chance, sir. I don't know the height of an ultimate powerhouse, but I promise that once I become a sanctification, I'll do anything for the clan even if I have to risk my life. He desired to become an ultimate powerhouse too much. Sir, please give me a chance on account of my contributions. With my current influence I can help the clan kill the Great Stone Saint. Once I become a sanctification I might be able to help the clan deal with the Lotus Sovereign. The shaman's spirit doll fell silent, but his heart was in turmoil. He was obviously Lu Yin in disguise. He had actually managed to get information about the Great Stone Saint's death out of his conversation with Qingfen. Shi Jiao had indeed said that the Great Stone Saint had died in battle, but was this related to Qingfen? The Great Stone Saint's death isn't enough for the clan to help you become a sanctification, the shaman spirit doll said indifferently. Qingfen replied, Sir, you clearly said that this was a great contribution. If I hadn't found out about the Great Stone Saint's location from Lotus Sovereign's disciple, Qing Kong wouldn't have been able to kill the Great Stone Saint before Lotus Sovereign arrived. Sir also said that. Qingfen suddenly stopped and stared at the shaman spirit doll. He suddenly stood up. You're not the shaman spirit god. Lu Yin's gaze trembled. This Qingfen had actually reacted. This person was indeed very cautious. If Lu Yin hadn't disguised himself as the shaman spirit god and the temptation of becoming a sanctification, he wouldn't have been able to get so much information out of the shaman spirit god. However, this was enough. Outside the cliff, the crazy old man and the rest looked at Jiang Xiaodao, Little Lian and Lingmu. They had just arrived, and before Lu Yin had disguised himself as the shaman spirit god and spoken to Qingfen, he had already activated the Cloud Connect stone to record this scene. Only the people from the Heaven's Reflection Manor had been able to see it, and when they saw Qingfen kowtow to the shaman spirit god, they knew that this was a sure thing, so they had arrived outside the cliff and sent the image to Lingmu and the rest. Lingmu and the rest stared blankly at Qingfen as he prostrated himself in front of the shaman spirit god. They didn't say a word as they listened to Qingfen talk about how he had killed the Great Stone Saint. Jiang Xiaodao was stunned. The shaman spirit god is here? Quick, ask for help. The shaman spirit god is the manor master in disguise, Elder Guan said. The crazy old man and the rest were confused. How had the manor master known that the shaman spirit god could fool Qingfen? They felt that Lu Yin was becoming more and more mysterious. There was a thump as a lotus bloomed. Qingfen tried to escape, but a bone spike easily pierced through his legs and caused him to fall down. Lu Yin reverted to Xianxi's appearance and controlled Qingfen. Once I capture you, all the spies in this spacetime will be obedient. Qingfen glared at Lu Yin. You're Xianxi. You're the one who pretended to be the shaman spirit god. The Heaven's Reflection Manor's people and Little Lian's group hurriedly entered the cliff. Within the village, the villagers walked out and looked on in confusion. Lu Yin looked down at Qingfen from above. Let me ask you something. Do you think that these villagers hope to live for a long time? Qingfen hadn't expected this question, but it had nothing to do with the fact that he was a spy. Of course. Who doesn't want to live forever? Lu Yin looked at the villagers. From today onwards you are all free. Whether you live or die, no one will care about you. The villagers looked on blankly. Qingfen had expected that the villagers would help him, but that didn't happen. The villagers looked on numbly, not reacting to Qingfen's capture at all. This sort of numbness was chilling. What did you do to them? Qingfen bellowed and tried to struggle. At that moment Xiaolian and the rest arrived. Manor Master. The crazy old man and the rest quickly grabbed Qingfen. Lu Yin looked at Xiaolian. Long time no see, Xiaolian. He was shocked. Brother Xianqi? Xianqi? What are you doing here? Jiang Xiaodao cried out. Lingmu appeared and stared at Lu Yin. You're from Heaven's Reflection Manor as well? Deputy Manor Master of Heaven's Reflection Manor, Xianqi. Lu Yin introduced himself. Lingmu ignored him. Hand Qingfen over. Lu Yin raised his brows. Qingfen is a spy and it's already been confirmed. Naturally, my Heaven's Reflection Manor will be the one to interrogate him. Why should I hand him over to you? He's also a disciple of Venerable Lotus. No matter what he did, Venerable Lotus will deal with him, Lingmu said. More people appeared and they were also disciples of Venerable Lotus. There were a total of 5 of them and they surrounded Lu Yin's group. They used their techniques, causing lotus flowers to bloom in the void. Jiang Xiaodao rejoiced in Lu Yin's misfortune. Facing venerable lotus disciples meant that Lu Yin was afraid that he wouldn't die quickly enough. How many of them were there in the 6 directions? These disciples of Lotus Lord were not very reasonable. The crazy old man and the rest exchanged glances. This was troublesome. Now that venerable lotus disciples had interfered, even if they confirmed that Qingfen was a spy, it would be very difficult to take him away. Of course, venerable lotus disciples wouldn't shield Qingfen's fate, but they wouldn't be able to interrogate him. Chapter 26:20. Manor Lord, we've already confirmed that Qingfeng is a spy. He's worthless. It's not worth it to offend Lotus Lord for him, said the old man. Gui San also said, that's right, Palace Lord. In any case, this guy won't survive. Even if we capture him and he insists that he's under Cheng Kong's control, it'll be hard for us to make a decision, the old man continued. They had gradually come to understand Lu Yin's temperament, and this was the only way they could persuade him. Heaven Mirror Manor was a force that spanned across the 6 sections. If they offended Lotus Supremacy's disciple, many things would become difficult. Outsiders are not allowed to interfere with the matters of the Heavens Examiner Hall. This is a right granted to us by the 6 Direction Association. If you want to steal Qingfen, then I have to suspect that you're in cahoots with him. How dare you? One of Lotus Lord's disciples shouted. How dare you slander Lotus Lord? Crazy old man and the others felt their scalps go numb. They hadn't expected Lu Yin to be so unyielding as to directly confront Lotus Sovereign's disciple. Qingfen had not expected this either, and he gloomily looked at Lu Yin. This person did not understand how terrifying a venerated Lotus disciple could be, and Qingfen naturally did not want to be taken away by one of them. He might still have a chance of survival if he went to the Heaven's Mirror Manor, but if he ended up in the hands of a venerated Lotus disciple, there was no way for him to survive. Brother Xianxia. Xiaoyan wanted to say something, but she was stopped by Jiang Xiaodao. He looked at Lu Yin and gave him a thumbs up. You're ruthless, I'm impressed. He quickly pulled Xiaoyan back. Lingmu stepped forward. Xianxia, I'll give you one more chance. Hand Qingfeng over to us and we'll guarantee that he'll receive the punishment he deserves. There's no need for you to offend Senior Lotus for his sake. Lu Yin stepped forward as well. I've said it before. The authority of the Heaven's Reflection Manor is bestowed by the 6 Directions Association. Anyone who dares to interfere and steal from us will be treated as... He paused and looked around. Spies. Lingmu's eyes narrowed. Do you really want to become enemies with Sovereign Lian? I, Xianqi, wouldn't dare to make an enemy out of the Lotus Sovereign. I'm just trying to capture a spy. No matter who it is, no matter what their status is, anyone who dares to steal from me is a spy. Lu Yin shouted, and a bone spike appeared in the air. Lingmu was astonished. Didn't this person come from the 6 Direction training grounds just like little Lian? Why was the virtual god power so terrifying? He was already close to the void transformation realm. Jiang Xiaodao opened his mouth wide. When did this guy become so powerful? Xiaoyan's gaze was complicated. She had a good impression of Xianqi. Although they had only met a few times, she didn't want them to be enemies in the future. Capture Qingfen and let's go. Anyone who dares to make a move is a spy, and the Heaven's Reflection Manor can capture them immediately. Crazy old man and the others followed closely behind him. No matter what they thought, they couldn't go against Lu Yin's will right now. Otherwise, neither the Heaven's Reflection Manor nor Lotus Reverend's disciples would welcome a traitor. Lingmu stared at Lu Yin, as this person had truly dared to offend a disciple of Venerable Lotus. In the entire 6 Paths Society, there was no one who didn't know what the words disciples of Revered Lotus represented. Although Revered Lotus couldn't be said to be the strongest among the 3, he had the most disciples, so many that it was terrifying. His disciples formed a hidden power that spread throughout the entire 6 Paths Society. This was publicly acknowledged by the entire 6 Paths Association. Even the Void Master would not openly offend the Lotus Venerable, but this person dared to do so? Where did his confidence come from? Did Void give it to him? Contact Senior Void immediately, Lingmu said. Her voice was so loud that everyone could hear her. Lu Yin didn't care, and his bone spear tore through the lotus, causing the 5 disciples to be sent flying. They wanted to attack, but they stopped. Although they looked down on the Heaven's Reflection Manor, the Heaven's Reflection Manor still belonged to the Six Paths Society. Many people felt that it was unreasonable for the Lotus Venerable's disciples to openly oppose the Heaven's Reflection Manor. After all, the Heaven's Reflection Manor only had one enemy, a spy from the everlasting race. Lu Yin led the group from the Heaven's Reflection Manor past the Lotus Venerable's disciples and left. "Senior Sister Lingmu, are we just going to let them go?" someone asked. Lingmu replied, "I know what to do." She couldn't do it openly, but she didn't say that she couldn't do it secretly. This person had dared to offend the Lotus Venerable's disciples, so she would use him as an example. It had been a long time since the Lotus Venerable's disciples had made a move. In outer space, Lu Yin's group headed towards the Red Domain. Su Yu's eyes glowed as she watched Lu Yin's back. All of the dissatisfaction she had with him in the past vanished like smoke. This person was so manly. "Hey bro, you're smiling." Suji rarely smiled, but when he saw Lu Yin's back he smiled. Perhaps joining the Heaven's Reflection Manor had been a good choice after all. Crazy Old Man and the others fell silent, as they hadn't expected Qingfen to really be taken away. This time the Six Direction Society would probably be in an uproar. They had guessed correctly. When news of Qingfen's capture spread, the Void God universe was the first to erupt, followed by the Reincarnation universe, the Wood universe and the Three Sovereigns universes. Qingfen wasn't enough to reach the apex, but he was backed by Venerable Lotus. Even if he was a spy, Venerable Lotus should have been the one to deal with him. No one had expected Xianxia to take him away right in front of the Lotus Venerable's disciples. He had even declared that anyone who tried to stop him would be a spy. This was clearly not giving Venerable Lotus any face. Xianxia's name quickly spread, even faster than when he had passed the Void Trial. As news of this spread, Xianxia's passing of the Void Trial, his capture of Wendy Yushan, and all sorts of other things he had done in the Six Direction training rites were dug up. Only then did many people in the Six Direction Society learn of his existence. When Su Wuji heard the news, his sunglasses fell off, and he drained his drink in one gulp before putting away the Cloud Vision stone. This had nothing to do with him, so there was no need to look for him. This Xianxia really knew how to cause trouble. Yunwu was fine, but that Yijuan was a little troublesome. However, since he was a spy, then any trouble was no trouble at all. Qingfen, on the other hand, was the real problem. This guy was Venerable Lotus' subordinate, so why not just leave him to Venerable Lotus? He had to be brought back. Su Wuji sighed as he realized that he had brought a huge problem upon himself. However, he put on his sunglasses. This brat was very efficient. Suddenly he remembered something. Had this brat been wearing the everlasting mirror when he had captured Qingfen? In the scenic cloud tribe, Yun was stunned when she heard the news. Xianxia had actually taken Qingfen away right in front of the Lotus Venerable's disciples? He had even threatened the Lotus Venerable's disciples that they were spies? Was he crazy? Many people from the Void Yang and Void Yin tribes were also stunned. Su Lai's lips curled up in a domineering manner. The more they understood the Lotus Venerable's disciples, the more they realized how domineering Lu Yin was. Many people guessed that Lu Yin did not know how terrifying the Lotus Venerable's disciples were. During this time, the Void Yang and Void Yin tribes' astronomical phenomena had become increasingly obvious. The day of the battle with Zhou Xian was approaching. Many people's attention was on these two tribes. With the Void Yang and Void Yin tribes working together, the Void God spacetime had gained a new behemoth. Gei San and the others relaxed when they saw the red sky in front of them. They had returned. Qingfen also relaxed. He would rather be captured by the Heaven's Mirror Manor than fall into the Lotus Venerable's hands. Otherwise his fate would be miserable. As long as he insisted that he was being controlled by Cheng Kong, the Heaven's Mirror Manor would not be able to do anything to him. However, the Lotus Venerable would not care. Suddenly everyone stopped. At the border of the Red Domain in outer space, a figure was sitting cross-legged there. Even though they were separated by a great distance, his gaze pierced through the void and stared at Lu Yin. Lu Yin frowned. A half-ancestor powerhouse? Was this Lotus Venerable's disciple? His movements were fast. He should be a void transformation realm cultivator from the Void God spacetime. The newcomer did not say anything. A void transformation realm Void God's power swept across the sky and pressed down on Lu Yin. How dare you attack the Heaven's Mirror Manor? Guan Laoda and Yu Pai attacked. Su Ji and Su Yu released their Void God's power at the same time, but they were swept away by the newcomer's power. The gap between them and a void transformation realm cultivator was difficult to make up for. Even if they used their void god's power, they could not make up for the gap. Qingfen's face paled. This was definitely a Lotus Venerable's disciple, and he could not escape. The newcomer's void god's power suppressed everyone to the point that they could not breathe. The newcomer raised his hand and pressed down again. An oval void god appeared, and the void god's power grew stronger and stronger until it pushed everyone away. Lu Yin did not move and allowed the newcomer's void god's power to suppress them. This person would not do anything to them. His only goal was to take Qingfen away. The Lotus Venerable's disciple had used a void transformation realm powerhouse to take Qingfen away. This was not to show the Lotus Venerable's disciple's face, but rather to protect someone. Qingfen had leaked the location of the Great Stone Saint's request for help to the Eternals, which had led to the Great Stone Saint's death at Qing Kong's hands. The Great Stone Saint's location could not have been directly leaked to Qingfen, so someone must have been involved. That person was the key to Qingfen's knowledge of the Great Stone Saint's location. That person might or might not have been a spy, but regardless of whether or not he was the one who had indirectly caused the Great Stone Saint's death, and his punishment would not be light. That person had to be Lotus Venerable's disciple. Now that this void transformation realm cultivator had acted, it was very likely that he had been asked by that person to take Qingfen away or to silence him. Qingfen's guess was correct. The newcomer's void god's power did not do anything to them, but Qingfen felt a sense of danger that made his scalp tingle. Once the void god's power descended, he would definitely die. Save me. As soon as he spoke, a void god's power that was not weaker than the newcomer's suddenly erupted and pushed the newcomer's void god's power away. In the distance, the newcomer was not surprised at all. He raised his other hand and oval-shaped void gods appeared one after another, increasing the void god's power. The one who had just blocked the void god's power was the insane old man Guanlauda, and the others watched in shock. They had never known that the insane old man had such power. Wasn't this the power of a void transformation realm cultivator? It was time for the insane old man to reveal himself. He could no longer keep hiding. The insane old man sighed. You just want to eat and wait for death to come. You've really made things difficult for me, estate master. He then looked at the oval-shaped void gods in the distance. He doesn't want to reveal himself, and he's a void transformation realm cultivator. He's quite famous in the void god spacetime and won't be easy to deal with. There shouldn't be many void transformation realm cultivators who would help Lotus Venerable's disciple, Suji said in a low voice. The insane old man shook his head. You can't look at it that way. There's a high chance that he'll help Lotus Venerable's disciple, and any possibility will attract a powerful enemy. What if this person is in the void realm? Don't scare me, Lu Yin said. The newcomer's gaze turned cold as oval-shaped void gods came crashing over. They weren't just launched with void god's power, but they also contained a unique technique. The insane old man's eyes flashed, but he didn't say anything. He just unleashed his own void god's power, causing the oval-shaped void gods to stop abruptly. The newcomer looked at the insane old man in shock. The insane old man looked back at him. Don't bother. Let's go, you can't take Qingfen with you. Chapter 26-21. At this moment, another powerful foe god's power appeared behind Xianxia. The pressure was no less than the one before Xianxia. Everyone's expression changed. Two void transformation realm cultivators? How is that possible? Guanlauda was shocked. Lu Yin frowned as well. Were they all disciples of Lotus Lord? Impossible. No matter how many Lotus Lord's disciples there were, it was impossible for them to gather two void transformation realm experts so quickly. Otherwise, what would the Void Master think? It was impossible for the progenitor realm experts of this spacetime to agree. These Lotus Lord's disciples must have used some other method to mobilize the two emptiness realm experts. Old Pervert frowned. We can't stop two of them. Contact the Lord, Gui San said with a trembling voice. The others did not say anything. If it was so easy to contact Su Wuji, the two void transformation realm cultivators would not be the only ones who had come. Su Wuji must have already known about this matter, but he had decided to stay out of it. He did not want to get into a conflict with Lotus Lord. It was not that he was afraid of the Lotus Reverend. Of course, it was also possible that he was afraid. The most important thing was that in the boundless battlefield, if he wanted to survive, he could not offend too many people outside. Otherwise, he would be isolated and without help, and his ending would be the same as the Great Stone Sage. The boundless battlefield was a millstone of life and death to Ancestor Realm experts. The two Emptiness Transformation Realm experts had only appeared to snatch Qingfen away and protect the person who had leaked the name of the Great Stone Saint. They were not here to deal with the Heaven's Reflection Mansion. Therefore it was normal that Void Realm experts did not appear. Save me. You have to take me away. I don't want to go to Venerate Lotus. Qingfen pleaded with Lu Yin. Lu Yin looked at him. Then tell me who leaked the Great Stone Saint's whereabouts. The insane old man and the others' hearts skipped a beat and they instinctively stepped back. Once this name was revealed, the Heaven Mirror Manor would immediately go against Lotus Prime's disciples. Lotus Prime's disciples would definitely do everything in their power to prevent this name from being leaked out. At the same time, the Heaven Mirror Manor would also want to find out if this person was a spy. Both sides would not let this matter go, and the insane old man did not want to get involved. Acting Mansion Master, Zhou Xian pleaded with a trembling voice. Let's put this matter aside for now. Guan Lao Da's face twitched. How did things turn out like this? It was a meritorious deed, yet he was intercepted by a Void Transformation Realm cultivator. If he wasn't careful, he might end up running into a disciple of Venerable Lotus. If that happened, how was he going to survive in the Six Paths Guild? Qingfen's expression changed. Should he speak or not? Release them, shouted Lin Feng. A terrifying faux god's strength crushed down. At the same time, a chain appeared. It contained boundless faux god's strength, surpassing that of a Void Transformation Realm cultivator. Old Madman was helpless. Acting Prefect, forget it. Lu Yin stared at Qingfen. Speak. Acting Potentate. Guan Laoda couldn't bear it any longer and tried to persuade Lu Yin to give up. Acting Mansion Lord, Senior Lotus will investigate this matter. Why do you need to meddle in the affairs of Senior Lotus disciples? Gui Sen said. The old man said, Lian Zun won't allow any spies to appear in his sect. Acting Prefecture Lord, this isn't something we can get involved in. The Prefecture Lord doesn't want to get involved either. Su Ji and Su Yu looked at Lu Yin. From their point of view, Lu Yin was under immense pressure. Various images flashed through Qingfen's mind. Should he say it or not? Two gusts of virtual god power came at him from the front and back. Even the deranged old man wanted to stop. The others also gave him a look, telling him to stop. Lu Yin suddenly looked at the deranged old man. Even if you have to die, you have to leave Qingfen behind. This is the Heaven's Mirror Manor. If a spy is snatched at the manor's entrance, how will he continue to work in the future? Capturing spies is the Heaven's Mirror Manor's business. What does it have to do with Senior Lotus? Once this person is handed over to Senior Lotus, the Heaven's Mirror Manor might as well disband. The deranged old man was bitter. But even the Prefecture Lord, I don't care. Whatever the Prefecture Lord thinks, as long as I'm the acting Prefecture Lord, I'll decide who the Heaven's Mirror Manor's master is. Even if you have to die, you have to leave Qingfen behind. I'll bear all the consequences. If you allow Qingfen to be snatched away, I guarantee that you'll end up the same as the spies. He needed to rely on the Heaven's Mirror Manor to do some things. If he allowed Qingfen to be snatched away, how would he continue to work in the future? How would he be able to cross the Six Paths Society? He refused to believe that the battle at the Heaven's Mirror Manor's entrance would continue for long. Many people were watching, and the two voiders didn't even dare to reveal themselves. Deranged old man, use your natal spirit. A natal spirit was a completely different concept from an ordinary one. These two didn't dare to reveal themselves, so they wouldn't use their natal spirit. Once the deranged old man used his natal spirit, his strength would be several times that of a normal void god's. Once they entered the red domain, things would be different. If they wanted to snatch someone from the red domain, Su Wuji wouldn't agree. The deranged old man was speechless as he realized that Lu Yin was a rash youth. Wasn't this clearly going against Senior Lotus disciple? Wouldn't it be better to let go of Qingfen now? He might even be able to form a friendship with Senior Lotus disciple. What was this guy thinking? The two voiders stared at Lu Yin as well, their expressions changing. Was this kid an idiot? Even Senior Void wasn't going to show up, but this kid was actually going to do it. Where did he get the courage from? They had thought that their plan would be foolproof, but they hadn't expected to run into someone like this. The deranged old man didn't want to use his natal spirit, and the two voiders didn't want to reveal themselves either. Both sides were in a deadlock at the entrance of the red domain. At that moment, a strange ripple spread out from the void. Lu Yin looked over. What was this ripple? The deranged old man turned around in shock. Someone's about to break through to the virtual realm. Virtual realm? Everyone looked in that direction, including the two emptiness realm cultivators. Was someone about to break through to the emptiness realm? Voiders desired to break through to the virtual realm the most, as only then could they be considered a true powerhouse. They hadn't expected someone to break through at this time. Who was it? Far away, the Void Yang tribe and Void Yin tribe all looked up in the same direction. Su Heng and Su Leng held hands as they looked around, the Yin Yang sword floating in front of them. I didn't think that we'd break through to the virtual realm at the same time while in seclusion, Su Heng sighed. Su Leng held Su Heng's hand and gently said, with our strength, we could have tried to break through long ago. We just lacked the Yin Yang sword. Now that it's back, we'll naturally break through. Su Heng smiled. Brother Xianxia really is our lucky star. Su Leng nodded. At that moment, an endless amount of Void God's power surged in from all directions. Void God spacetime cultivators did not have to go through the origin tribulation when breaking through to the virtual realm. Not only that, but the Void God's power would also push them into the virtual realm. However, the chances of success were pitifully small. Breaking through to the virtual realm required a massive amount of Void God's power to be channeled into one's body in an instant. If one didn't die from overeating, they would die. Compared to the progenitor realm that the fifth mainland needed to break through to the progenitor realm, the Void God spacetime valued talent more. This was also why Su Xianyin valued Lu Yin so much. With Lu Yin's innate ability to draw 20 times the Void God's power and his innate ability to trigger the Void God tide, he would definitely be able to reach the virtual realm. Most people would have to rely on luck to break through. Although the Void God spacetime did not prevent people from breaking through to the virtual realm, the chances of reaching the virtual realm were much lower. The chances of breaking through to the progenitor realm in the fifth mainland were much higher. This was how the universe worked. If someone tried to stop someone, someone would succeed. If someone tried to push someone, someone would fail. This was only fair. Su Heng and Su Leng could have broken through to the emptiness realm a long time ago, but they knew that they would never succeed because they lacked the Yin Yang sword and the most crucial step of Master Su Yi's power. If they did not complete this step, they would never be able to break through to the emptiness realm. Boundless Void God's power continuously surged into Su Heng and Su Leng's bodies. This amount of Void God's power was much greater than anyone else's, as these two people were breaking through at the same time. The Void God's power flowed into their bodies and flowed out around the Yin Yang sword, forming a cycle. Without this cycle, they would not be able to break through. Other Void Transformation Realm cultivators also needed the Void God's power to break through to the virtual realm. This was the Void God Civilization's cultivation method. At the entrance of the red domain, everyone looked into the distance, their expressions growing more and more shocked. Who's breaking through to trigger such a massive amount of Void God's power? Lu Yin narrowed his eyes. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. It was indeed majestic, and he felt that this Void God's power was not any weaker than the power that the Void Master had infused into his bone spear. That was the power that the Void Master had infused into his bone spear, and it was based on Lu Yin's own cultivation and innate gift. Could be said that it was extremely majestic. How could someone who had just broken through have such majestic power? There were many experts in the Void God civilization. Su Wei was an expert who could not be seen through. Now that this person had broken through, he would definitely be extremely powerful. The two Void Transformation Realm cultivators who wanted to snatch Qingfen away had complicated expressions. They had dreamed of breaking through to the virtual realm, but it seemed like a single step, but it was actually so close. Now that they saw someone else break through, they were stunned. Let's go, Lu Yin growled. Old Madman moved and pulled Lu Yin and Qingfen away from the crowd, heading towards the red domain. These two Void Transformation Realm cultivators only wanted Qingfen, and they would not harm anyone else. At the entrance of the red domain, the Void Transformation Realm cultivator regained his composure and attacked even more fiercely. Behind him, Void God's power transformed into a large hand that grabbed at them. You're still not using your natal spirit. Lu Yin stared coldly at Old Madman. The aura he had cultivated in the fifth mainland for so many years made old madman's heart tremble. He could not understand why he did not dare to look Lu Yin in the eye. Lu Yin had killed more than one half-ancestor, and his killing intent was so heavy that even old madman could not withstand it. Old madman bitterly replied, "Acting Academy Master, it's not that I don't want to use it, but I have my reasons." "I don't care what your reasons are, but if Qingfen is taken away you're dead," Lu Yin threatened. Old madman could see that Lu Yin was serious and he gritted his teeth. Fine, it didn't matter if he fought or not, so he might as well give it a shot. "Acting Academy Master, if someone tries to capture me, you have to help me block them." "Alright," Lu Yin agreed. He was not afraid of making a big deal out of it, but he was afraid that it would not be big enough. A strange laugh suddenly rang out, causing Lu Yin's scalp to turn cold. He stared blankly at the doll that had appeared out of nowhere beside him. What was this? The doll that had suddenly appeared was as terrifying as a ghost. Its large round eyes were filled with dark circles, and its mouth was split open but sewn shut. Its pupils were lifeless, but it seemed to be staring at Lu Yin. Its entire body was covered with sewing marks that formed a pattern that resembled eyes. Strings from the doll were connected to old madman's hand, and it constantly shook as it let out a strange laugh. This laughter was even more horrifying than the witch spirit gods, and it made Lu Yin feel uncomfortable and disgusted. Qingfen stared at the strange doll beside him in horror. The doll's eyes were staring at him as it let out a strange laugh. This was old madman's natal spirit. Chapter 26-22. Lu Yin was bewildered. Was this also a faux god? When the puppet appeared, the crazy old man's entire being changed. He became gloomy and strange, and his lips curled into a smile. He looked extremely cruel. "It's you." The Void Transformation Realm Cultivator in front was shocked. The Void Transformation Realm Cultivator behind him asked in a low voice, "You can return?" The crazy old man licked his lips. "Acting Academy Master, we're going in." The strange puppet raised its head and cackled at the sky. Ripples spread out, followed by boundless faux god's power. This faux god's power was soft and ghostly, and anyone who came into contact with it would feel dizzy and nauseous. Lu Yin suppressed his discomfort and looked forward. They were getting closer and closer to the red domain, and they were about to enter. A lotus flower bloomed in front of them. It was Lianbao. The crazy old man's laughter grew louder and louder, and the ripples continued to erode the lotus flower. However, the lotus flower bloomed once more, and this time it bloomed a total of 4 times. Lu Yin's heart sank. In the words of venerated lotus disciples, a lotus that bloomed at the 9th grade was considered venerated. Below venerated lotus were 8 grade lotuses, and each grade had a different power. Lianbao had been sent to the 5th mainland to train with a grade 4 lotus, which could block an attack from a progenitor. The lotus flower in front of them was also a grade 4, and the crazy old man couldn't break through it with his Void Transformation Realm Cultivation. With the appearance of the lotus flower, this Void Transformation Realm Cultivator had basically shed all pretense of cordiality. The crazy old man's puppet continued to erode the lotus flower, but a grade 4 lotus could block a progenitor. Lu Yin's current faux god power was far from reaching the virtual realm, and that gap couldn't be made up for by just a few times. "Since you've appeared, someone will settle the score with you. Hand over Qingfen," the Void Transformation Realm Cultivator said as he stared at Lu Yin. Qingfen was terrified as even Lianbao had been used. That person definitely wanted to silence him. He hurriedly looked at Lu Yin. "I can't go. Take me to the Heaven's Reflection Manor, and I'll tell you who leaked the Great Stone Saint's location." "Speak now," Lu Yin said. Qingfen shook his head. He couldn't say anything. If he did, he would no longer be of any value to this person. It was very likely that this person would throw him out and hand him over to Reverend Lotus disciples. If he didn't say anything, this person would definitely bring him into the Heaven Mirror Manor. Once he entered the Heaven Mirror Manor, he wouldn't have to worry anymore. Unless the Heaven Mirror Manor was shameless, they wouldn't allow him to be taken away by Reverend Lotus disciples. To be honest, he could not figure out why Xianxia was involved in this kind of thing. Lotus Venerable would definitely not let go of the person who leaked the trace of the Great Stone Saint. This matter could be solved perfectly, and it would not involve this person. However, this person was stubborn and insisted on getting involved, which was good for him. Lu Yin looked at Qingfen. "If you don't tell me, then I'll throw you out." My patience is limited, and it seems like it wouldn't be a bad idea to hand you over to Lotus Sovereign's disciple. Old Madman rolled his eyes. Prefecture Lord, just throw him out. He prepared to toss Qingfen out. Qingfen's face was as white as a sheet of paper, and Old Madman knew that things weren't going well. Yaolon, it's Yaolon. Qingfen cried out. His voice was so loud that it spread in all directions. Old Madman's mouth fell open. Oh no, this brat was so easily frightened. Lu Yin's eyes went wide. He had finally spoken. The Void Transformation Realm cultivator in front of Lu Yin looked at him coldly. Nonsense. I'm not spouting nonsense. It's Yaolon, it's her. Xianxia, take me into Heaven's Reflection Hall. I still have something to say. Take me in. Qingfen struggled and stared at Lu Yin. He could only take a gamble and hope that Lu Yin would not give up on him. Of course, Lu Yin would not give up on him. Do the two of you still want to continue? Qingfen is being controlled by Qing Kong and he's bewitched people. He's making false accusations. Prefecture Lord Xianxia, you don't believe him, do you? The Void Transformation Realm cultivator in the back spoke up. Hand Qingfen over to us. Someone will deal with him and someone will give you an explanation. I'm not going. Xianxia, don't give up on me. Qingfen shouted. Lu Yin said, Qingfen is not spouting nonsense. The Heaven's Reflection Hall will investigate this matter. There's no need for the two of you to take action. Please return. Hand Qingfen over to us. The two acted. The crazy old man sighed. At this point, there was no way for him to extricate himself. He could only help Lu Yin keep Qingfen and allow the Heaven's Reflection Hall to publicly announce that Qingfen was making false accusations. Only then would this matter be resolved. Otherwise, if they allowed Qingfen to be taken away, the disciples of Venerable Lotus would definitely hate them. Unknowingly, the boundless void god's power that had broken through to the virtual realm dissipated. At the entrance of the red domain, the strange doll faced off against two void gods' power. The crazy old man had put in a lot of effort this time. Not only did he have to deal with two Void Transformation Realm cultivators who had hidden their identities, but he also had to think of a way to break through the Lotus treasure and enter the red domain. They did not notice the two figures that had appeared and they watched curiously. The crazy old man was the first to notice and he suddenly turned around and looked into the distance. Who's there? The others looked over as well. Brother, we haven't seen each other in a while. How did you join the Heaven's Reflection Hall? A familiar voice sounded out, causing Lu Yin to be delighted. Brother Su Heng? Me too. Su Heng smiled as he walked over. Lu Yin was delighted. You're done with your seclusion? Su Heng grinned. Su Heng's gaze swept over everyone. Brother, it looks like you've run into some trouble. Lu Yin's lips curled up. Yeah, there are two people blocking my way. I have a home that I can't return to. Su Heng's expression turned cold as he looked at the two Void Transformation Realm cultivators. A strange pressure descended upon them, causing their breathing to become heavy. The two were shocked. You're the one who broke through to the virtual realm? Since we're old friends, I won't make things difficult for you. Leave on your own. If you cause trouble for my brother again, there will be no place for you in the Void God space-time, Su Heng said coldly. Everyone looked on in shock as they had not expected Su Heng to be the one to break through to the virtual realm. Su Heng said, if you want to rely on Lotus Sovereign, that's your problem. If you dare to attack my brother again, no one will be able to save you. Lotus Sovereign does not have the final say in the Void God spacetime. You broke through to the virtual realm as well? Lu Yin smiled as this was interesting. The two of them had broken through to the virtual realm at the same time, so it was no wonder that there had been such a huge commotion. He should have guessed that they were heading in the direction of the Void Yang tribe and the Void Yin tribe. The two Void Transformation Realm cultivators exchanged glances before helplessly bowing to Su Heng and Su Lung before retreating. They both knew each other and had once been on the same level, but now there was a huge gap between them. So what if one of them had broken through to the virtual realm? Su Heng and Su Lung had both broken through to the virtual realm at the same time. Not only that, but they also cultivated from the same source. If they worked together, their strength would be unimaginable. The group from the Heaven's Mirror Manor was stunned, as they had not expected two virtual realm cultivators to support them. The crazy old man bowed to Su Heng and Su Lung. Greetings, seniors. Guan Lao De Yu Pai and the rest bowed as well. Greetings, seniors. Su Heng grunted and looked at Lu Yin with a smile. Brother, how did you join the Heaven's Mirror Manor? Where's Su Wuji? Lu Yin shrugged. It's a long story. Let's go in and talk. So this is the Red Domain? It's been a long time since we've been here. Scope. Lu Yin led the way and the group entered the Red Domain. Su felt like she was dreaming. 2 virtual realm cultivators calling Xianxia brother? This was too strange. Who would dare to provoke Xianxia in the void god spacetime? These 2 weren't the only ones supporting him. Su Wuji was one of them, and there was also Senior Su Wei. When she thought of this, Su looked at Lu Yin in a different light. She felt like the gap between them had suddenly widened. When had this happened? When they returned to the Heaven's Mirror Manor, Lu Yin handed Qingfen over to Ning Ran while the others dispersed. Only Lu Yin, Su Heng and Su Leng remained on the clock tower. Congratulations to brother and sister for breaking through to the virtual realm. Lu Yin smiled and bowed to the 2 of them. Su Leng rolled his eyes. You're still in the mood to tease us? You've seriously offended Reverend Lotus disciple. Su Heng said, I didn't expect to see you surrounded by 2 virtual realm cultivators as soon as I came out of seclusion. We were so scared that we didn't even return to our families before coming here. What happened? Lu Yin slowly recounted the events that had transpired during this period of time, and the 2 of them were stunned. Yunwu Yijuan and Qingfen were all spies? Su Heng gasped. Su Ling said, no wonder Reverend Lotus disciple wanted to take Qingfen away. Do you know who Yaolon is? Lu Yin's expression turned serious. Reverend Lotus' eldest disciple Yaolon. She's known as a half-step saint, and she's an absolute genius who can fight against the 9 sages at the Immortal realm. She's recognized by the reincarnation spacetime as the successor to Reverend Lotus' position. Yaolan's influence is extremely high. If not for the reincarnation spacetime's internal problems, she would have become one of the 9 sages long ago. Even though she's still an Immortal realm cultivator, she's still comparable to a saint. She's Reverend Lotus' most valued disciple and can order around Reverend Lotus disciples, Su Heng said solemnly. Su Leng continued, not only that but I met her in the endless battlefield. Her influence isn't limited to just Reverend Lotus disciples, and many people have received her favor. The 2 who stopped you weren't Reverend Lotus disciples, so they were probably acting out of respect for her. If she's a spy, then things will get serious. Lu Yin said, she might not be a spy, but she can't escape the crime of indirectly causing Stone Sage's death. Let's see how Reverend Lotus will punish her. He paused. Let's not talk about me. Are you confident in fighting Senior Xianxia? Lu Yin asked. Su Heng replied, Senior Xianxia has been in the virtual realm for far too long, and he even created his own path to become a legend. How could he be confident? However, if we work together we should be able to put up a fight. Lu Yin was surprised. If we work together? Of course, Su Leng answered naturally. Lu Yin was speechless. Xianxia had already stepped into the virtual realm, but they still needed to work together. Su Heng laughed. Brother, what's with that look? Su Leng smiled but didn't say anything. Lu Yin said, well, if we work together it won't make sense. But one person definitely can't beat him, Su Heng said. Lu Yin thought about it and agreed. At that moment Su Wuji returned. The 2 of you have just broken through to the virtual realm, and yet you've already arrived at Heaven's Mirror Manor. It's truly an honor. Su Heng and Su Leng looked at him and said in an unpleasant tone, Senior Wuji, you've come at the right time. You didn't appear when your subordinates were surrounded, and you only came after the matter was over. Su Wuji smiled bitterly. There's no other way. Heaven's Mirror Manor involves many parties, and Reverend Lotus disciples have too much influence. You won't understand my difficulties. He then looked at Lu Yin. Where's Qingfen? In the Red Domain, Lu Yin replied. Chapter 26-23. Don't worry. If you have the ability to capture him, then you don't need to take responsibility for the rest. As long as he's in the Red Domain, no one can take him away unless they step over my dead body. Only then did Su Heng and the others' expressions become slightly better. Lu Yin could understand Void Limitless, as there were some things that were difficult to handle in a certain position. Logically speaking, Void Limitless should have been able to let go, but because of his own plans he had intentionally aggravated the conflict. This was something that many people did not understand, and Void Limitless probably did not understand either. Manor Lord, what should we do with Cheng Feng? Lu Yin asked. Su Wuji said, interrogate him and force him to reveal the details of the other spies. Also, ask him about the specific circumstances surrounding the death of the Great Stone Saint, especially if it involves Yaolon. You have to get to the bottom of this. Lu Yin nodded. What if Yaolon is a spy? Su Heng and Su Leng looked at each other. This was a serious problem. If Yaolon was not a spy, it would be fine. How to punish her was up to the reincarnation time and space. After all, she had indirectly caused the death of the Great Stone Saint. Only the reincarnation time and space had the right to punish her. However, if she was a spy, it would involve the Heaven's View Manor and Lord Lotus's reputation. Even the Jingyun family wished to keep the fact that Yun Wu was a spy to preserve the family's reputation, let alone Senior Lotus. Even if Lotus Venerable didn't care, Lotus Venerable's disciples wouldn't agree. Yao Lan's influence was great enough. Su Wuji's expression was solemn. My Heaven's Mirror Manor will investigate anyone who is suspected of being a spy. He then looked at Lu Yin. The Heaven's Mirror Manor has the right to interrogate anyone who is not participating in the tournament at any time, as well as anyone who is not an extreme powerhouse. If we find out from Qingfen's interrogation that Yaolon might be a spy, then I will give you the authority to report this to the Six Directions Society's Heaven's Mirror Manor, and use the Heaven's Mirror Manor's name to summon Yaolon for questioning. Lu Yin raised a brow. In the name of the Six Directions Association's Heaven's Reflection Hall? Su Wuji explained, this interrogation is very formal and it's not an interrogation. It's only targeted at those who have great influence or have made great contributions to the human race. It's made public to the entire Six-Party Assembly. Not only will the Heaven's Reflection Manor know the answer they want, but it will also allow the entire Six-Party Assembly to verify whether or not the person being interrogated is a spy. This is also a kind of good treatment for the person being interrogated. Su Leng narrowed his eyes. Senior Wuji, you want Brother Xianxia to publicly question Yaolon? Su Wuji shook his head. I only told him that there was a way. You're asking him to die, Su Leng said coldly. Lu Yin was puzzled. What do you mean? Su Heng took a deep look at Su Wuji and then said to Lu Yin, a public inquiry might seem like it's meant to protect the person being questioned, but it's also meant to allow everyone to witness that this person has been cleared of any suspicions of being a spy. Or it might even directly confirm that this person is a spy. If it's the latter, then that's fine, but if it's the former... He looked at Lu Yin. Since a public inquiry has already been made, then it means that the Heaven's Reflection Hall is unable to find out the information that they need to investigate. Exposing your secret in front of the entire Six Direction sect. If this person is not a spy, do you think he will let this matter go? The public inquiry isn't about respecting that person, it's about respecting that person's influence. That person must be disgusted or even disgusted by the public inquiry. In that case, you can imagine what will happen to the people in the Heaven Mirror Prefecture who publicly inquired about that person. Lu Yin understood what she meant. If he were to publicly question Yaolon, then there would definitely be some matters that the Horizon Manor would not be able to find out. Yaolon would not hide anything during a public interrogation, so there would definitely be some private matters involved. How would Yaolon be willing to let this matter be made public? And if it was finally confirmed that Yaolon was not a spy, how would she take revenge on Lu Yin for causing her to be publicly questioned? Su Leng slowly spoke up. From what I know, there have only been 6 public inquiries in the history of the Heaven Mirror Prefecture, and none of them were proven to be spies. All 6 times the people from the Heaven Mirror Prefecture who were publicly questioned. At this point she looked at Su Wuji. All of them died. Su Wuji looked up. Their deaths were accidental. Is that so? How could Su Leng believe that? Su Wuji seriously explained, since the establishment of the Heaven Mirror Prefecture, countless people have died, and the level of danger is comparable to the endless battlefield. Their deaths were indeed accidental. 6 people are too insignificant compared to the countless deaths that have occurred. The fact that they dared to publicly question people with great influence means that they were brave enough to charge at the very front. People like that die very easily. Su Heng replied, who knows? Brother, you should learn more about the Heaven Mirror Prefecture. Lu Yin nodded. Got it. Su Heng and Su Leng left as they had to prepare for their battle with Xianxia in 10 days. After the two left, Su Wuji asked, why did you have to capture Qingfen? Lu Yin replied, A spy should belong to the Heaven Mirror Prefecture. Su Wuji laughed. Don't you think about the gains and losses? If you think too much about gains and losses in this line of work, then you won't be able to continue. Su Wuji adjusted his sunglasses. You're very suited for this path of public inquiry. I'm not lying to you. No matter how we investigate, the deaths of those 6 people were accidental, just like the others who died in the endless battlefield. The people of the Heaven Mirror Prefecture will not die in vain. If someone tried to frame them, then the 6 prefecture masters will not remain indifferent. After all, the Heaven Mirror Prefecture has 6 extremely powerful experts that even Venerable Lotus cannot openly oppose. I know, Lu Yin replied. I didn't think too much about it. Even if it wasn't an accident, I'm not afraid. I've already started down this path, so I'm not afraid to continue down it. Haha, you're very suitable. It's a pity that you're not in the virtual realm yet. Otherwise, the position of Prefecture Master would have been handed to you, Su Wuji laughed. Prefecture Master, will you be going to watch the battle between Su Heng and Senior Xianxia? Lu Yin suddenly asked. Su Wuji nodded. Of course. Take me with you, Lu Yin said. I want to cheer for my brothers. Su Wuji raised his brows. Don't spout nonsense. Compared to your brothers, there will be more people cheering for Senior Xianxia. Senior Xianxia is an elder worthy of respect, and he has participated in the endless battlefield the most times in the entire Void God spacetime. Lu Yin was shocked. Is that so? Su Wuji solemnly explained, the endless battlefield is a place that not even virtual realm experts are willing to go to. Death aside, any virtual realm expert who enters the endless battlefield is dancing on a knife's edge. They will face powerhouses in the same realm as them, including the 7 sky gods. For example, if I were to face one of them alone, I would definitely die. Senior Xianxia has participated in the endless battlefield more than I have, and more than Senior Su Wei. His legend is not only that he created the path of not using external void gods, but that he also killed his way out of the endless battlefield. You should be aware of Yaolon's influence. Many people have killed their way out of the endless battlefield, but Senior Xiaoxi's influence is far greater than Yaolon's. Countless people have received his favor, and even Senior Su Wei has been supported by him. Lu Yin nodded as Xiaoxi was truly worthy of respect. Although there had been many spies and redbacks throughout human history, there had also been people like Progenitor Qin and Progenitor Ku who had illuminated the darkness. The primordial space was one such example. There were many people in the primordial space, and the 6 Direction Society naturally had its members as well. Regardless of how Lu Yin viewed the 6 Direction Society or the Grand Empyrean who had exiled the Lu family, there was one thing that he had to admit. Without them, the Eternals would have long since wiped out the entire human race. Wherever there was evil, there would always be good. This was what Mr. Mu wanted Lu Yin to maintain. He had too many people to protect, and those people revered him and wanted to protect him. This was his responsibility. Manor Lord, do you think that the Eternals will save Qingfen? Lu Yin suddenly asked. Su Wuji could not answer, as he had no idea how powerful the Eternals were in the Void God spacetime. The underground of Heaven's Reflection Manor was not as dark as Lu Yin had imagined. Instead, it was a beautiful place with flourishing trees, bright flowers, and all sorts of cute little animals. It formed a garden that was suitable for people to live in. Anyone who saw this place would not be able to associate it with an interrogation, but this was indeed the Heaven's Reflection Manor's interrogation room, and Ning Ran was in charge of it. Yijun was here, and so was Qingfen. The two were separated by a mountain, so they could not see or hear each other. However, they could still see the beautiful scenery. Lu Yin had arrived. Ning Ran hurriedly went over to greet him. She was now completely convinced of Lu Yin's abilities. This Manor Lord had not relied on his strength to suppress others, but rather his ability to capture spies. She had never imagined that the Heaven's Reflection Manor, which had only been able to capture small fries, would be able to capture so many important people, especially Qingfen. 2 Void Transformation Realm cultivators had even blocked the entrance of the Red Domain to capture him. Even Su Wuji had not appeared. Acting Manor Lord, Ning Ran greeted him respectfully. Lu Yin stepped forward and looked at Qingfen, whose back was facing them as he watched the waterfall. How is he? Ning Ran replied, just like Yijun, he gave a list of names. There might be spies on the list, but he said that they were all controlled by Qing Kong. Any spies captured by the Heaven's Reflection Manor would use this excuse, which was the biggest headache for the Heaven's Reflection Manor. It was difficult for them to determine whether someone was being controlled or not, and they could not execute all of them. That would be troublesome as there were too many eyes on the Heaven's Reflection Manor. Those who were qualified to become spies were not ordinary people. Lu Yin quietly looked at Qingfen, whose back was facing them. Anyone would feel relaxed and happy in this beautiful place, but Qingfen, Yijun and the other spies felt different. They all had a poisonous toad on their shoulders, which caused them to suffer unimaginable pain at all times. This beautiful place was exactly what Ning Ran liked. Enduring pain in such a beautiful place could easily destroy a person's willpower. Lu Yin walked over step by step, circling around Qingfen until he was right in front of him. Qingfen's face was pale and his veins were bulging. He was in so much pain that his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. His originally handsome face had turned sinister, and his fingernails had pierced into his palms because he was exerting too much force. Blood flowed down his clothes and dripped onto the bright red petals. "I'm called Xianxia. You should have known about me ever since Yijun was captured. I'm not from the Heaven's Reflection Manor and I joined not long ago. I'm not even from the Void God universe, so I don't care about you. I can ignore the rules and do things. From my point of view, you aren't being controlled by Qing Kong. Of course, even if you are, it doesn't matter." Qingfen stared at him and the toad on his shoulder made a sound. Every sound made Qingfen feel more pain, so much so that he wanted to die. Chapter 26-24. We're not strangers and we've even gone through life and death situations together. You know me, as long as I don't want to, no one can take you away. Similarly, as long as I want to, no one can stop me from doing anything such as executing you. Qingfen's eyes narrowed. I'm being controlled by Qing Kong. That means that you have no value. I spent so much effort to bring you here not to bring trouble to Yaolon, but rather to gain some value. What value can you provide me that makes me feel that bringing you here is worth it? If I'm in a good mood, I might even be able to help you fulfill your wishes, Lu Yin said slowly. I'm being controlled by Qing Kong. Qingfen didn't say anything else. The interrogation was a long process, and Yijun had only revealed the names of the people who had met her. He was still in pain even now. Lu Yin laughed. Others say that being controlled by Qing Kong gives them a chance to live because they have family and friends. They hope that they're controlled so that their crimes can be lessened. What about you? Who can help you? Qingfen's eyelids twitched. Is it Lotus Venerable? Lu Yin asked. Qingfen's eyes widened and narrowed. What's the point of you insisting that you're being controlled by Qing Kong? Who will speak up for you because of this? You said that Yao Lan was the one who leaked the Great Stone Saint's whereabouts. Do you think Lotus Venerable's disciples will still help you? Lu Yin mocked. Qingfen's face paled and he regretted it. The situation had been urgent, and he had only thought that Yao Lan would silence him. He didn't want to fall into her hands, which was why he had mentioned this woman. However, he had forgotten that once he mentioned Yao Lan, no one would help him even if he was being controlled by Qing Kong. His greatest support was Lotus Venerable's disciples, but he had betrayed them. To you, whether or not you're under Qing Kong's control doesn't mean anything. The only thing you need to consider right now is how you can get me to help you survive or even help you redeem yourself. I'm looking at the big picture, not the contributions of one or two spies. Otherwise, why would I capture you? As long as you can help me make enough contributions. Lu Yin moved closer and stared at Qingfen. His lips curled up as he softly said, I can let you live a comfortable life. Qingfen's face twitched even more violently, but he still didn't say a word. His thoughts were in a mess, and the pain in his body and Lu Yin's words had thrown him into confusion. He didn't know what to do. He wanted to live, so he didn't want to be taken away by the Lotus Lord's disciples. He was afraid that Yao Lan would kill him. Now that Yao Lan's name had been mentioned, the Lotus Lord's disciples wouldn't help him. What hope did he have to live? I'll give you some hope. Lu Yin stood up and looked around. Only by surviving will you have a chance of being rescued by the Eternals. In the distance, Ning Ran heard this and was astonished. How could he say such things? This person was too unique. Qingfen's eyes widened. Yes, his only hope was the Eternals. It was the Sorcerer Spirit God. He was a spy that the Sorcerer Spirit God had personally nurtured. The Sorcerer Spirit God would not give up on him so easily. What about the Sorcerer Spirit God? Thinking of the Witch Spirit God, he opened his mouth. His voice was actually very hoarse, completely different from his beautiful singing voice. How did you know that you could fool me by pretending to be the witch spirit god? Where's sorcerer spirit? Ning Rant's expression changed. Witcher spirit god? One of the 7 heavenly gods. Qingfen wasn't the only one who was puzzled. Guan Laode, the crazy old man, and the others were also puzzled. Lu Yin's disguise as Tu Shuangshuang had not been able to fool Qingfen, which meant that no other spy could fool him. Qingfen was too cautious, but he had pretended to be the sorcerer spirit god. How did he know that the sorcerer spirit god could fool Qingfen? How did he know that Qingfen was a spy that the sorcerer spirit god had nurtured? Lu Yin sneered. Why should I tell you? This was Lu Yin's answer. There were many things that needed to be explained in the 6 direction training grounds, but that might not be the case now. Why should he explain? Who could force him to explain? Unless Su Wuji asked, and Lu Yin had already thought of an excuse. However, since Su Wuji did not ask, Lu Yin did not say anything either. Getting Qingfen to speak was not an easy task. Lu Yin did not even try to get Yi Jun to speak because he could not find a flaw in her mentality. Yi Jun's contributions in the endless battlefield were enough for her to survive as long as she insisted that she was under Cheng Kong's control. Thus, it would be a waste to say anything to her. Qingfen was different. The only thing he could rely on was his identity as a disciple of Venerable Lotus. However, since he had betrayed Yao Lan, this was gone. As long as he could break through Yi Jun's mentality, he would say anything. Over the next few days, Qingfen was continuously tortured. But the physical pain was not enough to break through his psychological defenses. If his willpower was so easily destroyed, the sorcerer spirit god would not have chosen him. However, the more determined a person's willpower was, the easier it was for them to have a flaw in their mentality. It was precisely this mentality that made a person so determined, but it was also their only flaw. Lu Yin took Qingfen away, and no one knew that he had brought him out of the red region. There was no danger at the moment, and Yao Lan had been betrayed. Venerable Lotus disciples only hated Qingfen, but they were not that desperate to capture him. Lu Yin brought Qingfen to the cliff. The cliff was completely different from before. The cliff that Qingfen had protected was gone, and in its place were all sorts of venting marks. The snowy mountain had been cut off and the sky was covered in thick smoke. Fortunately, the village was unharmed. This was the reason why Lu Yin had ordered the Heaven's Reflection Manor to protect the village. Otherwise, it would have been destroyed by outsiders. There were too many people who hated spies. Qingfen had never thought that he would be able to return to the village. He saw his third aunt, his uncle, and many other familiar faces, but none of them could see him. Lu Yin brought him through the void, and as long as he willed it, these ordinary people naturally could not see him. Uncle. Qingfen could not help but call out, but the old man did not respond. He could not hear him at all. Qingfen looked at Lu Yin. Why did you bring me here? I'll show you what these people are really thinking, Lu Yin said. Qingfen did not understand. What were they really thinking? There was a crash as the wall in front of them collapsed. Qingfen subconsciously tried to help it up. Someone shouted from the side, "Well done." Qingfen stopped and looked over in shock. There were a few villagers he was extremely familiar with. It's finally fallen. Let's smash that wall too, someone suggested, causing a round of cheers. Third aunt, burn your tattered clothes. It should have been burned long ago. Little Anzi is sick. The weather has been changing too quickly. That's great. Someone's finally sick. Forget about that. Pack up. We can leave. We can finally leave. That's great. Qingfen stared blankly at all of this. He looked at the things he cared about. The familiar scene had become unfamiliar. The wall where he used to squat and sing softly when he was young had just been pushed down. Third aunt's clothes were very tattered, but it was a gift from him. It was a gift from him to third aunt. Even though he had asked third aunt to change it many times, he didn't want third aunt to change it. Third aunt knew that too, so no matter how tattered it was, she had always worn it. Everything in this village was exactly the same as it had been when he was young. Nothing had changed. But in that moment, everything had changed. The villagers had become unfamiliar. Why were they so happy when they were sick? Why did they leave? Why did they destroy the house? Why did they burn the clothes? Why? You thought that you gave them a long life, that they would not age or get sick. You thought that you were maintaining their favorite life, but that's just your selfishness. They've always lived in the beautiful environment you created. What's the difference between that and being kept in captivity? Qingfen roared. No, I let them live. I want to repay them. They raised me, so I gave them a long life. I made sure that they would never face any disaster. Isn't that good? But you deprived them of their freedom, Lu Yin said coldly. You deprived them of their most fundamental life. What about you? Didn't you live for a long time too? You'll live even longer. I'm cultivating and every day is different. But what about them? They do the same thing every day. How many times did they repair that wall? How many years did they wear it for? Can a normal person's clothes be worn for that long? Don't say that you didn't do it. Qingfen stared blankly at the overjoyed villagers. They were very happy. He had been taken away right in front of them. Why were they so happy? Weren't they worried about him? What had happened to his persistence? Had he really done something wrong? No, that's right. I helped them, but they didn't know how to repay me. They were ungrateful. Qingfen's eyes were bloodshot as he glared at the villagers. When he saw Qingfen's transformation, Lu Yin understood why the witch spirit god had chosen him. What was the difference between his methods and the eternal kingdoms? Both were rearing people in captivity and depriving them of their life essence. It was too easy for Qingfen to become a corpse king. Kill them all. Kill these ungrateful bastards. Qingfen screamed in his heart as he stared at the overjoyed villagers. They had destroyed everything he cared about the most. This village had been destroyed by them. They were traitors. Lu Yin pressed a hand on Qingfen's shoulder, waking him up. He glared at him, still angry. I told the people from the Heaven's Reflection Manor to protect them and find the other human cities on the cliff to give them a new life. Qingfen's gaze was savage. They don't deserve it. I let them live without disaster, but they betrayed me and never cared about me. They don't deserve it. If you help them, they'll betray you one day. Then what do you want? Lu Yin barked. Qingfen growled. Kill them. You must kill them. You won't have the chance, Lu Yin said. Qingfen clenched his fists, causing fresh blood to flow. Give me a chance to kill them. I'll definitely kill them and make them into specimens in the village. I'll rebuild the village. Lu Yin frowned. This person was no longer human. Although he wasn't a corpse king, he was even more terrifying than one. I can only give you a chance to live and not let you die. As for what you'll do in the future, that's up to you. Qingfen trembled and his eyes flickered. Fine, give me a chance to live. He once again glared at the villagers who had left. As long as he had the chance, he would definitely exterminate them. These ungrateful bastards didn't deserve to live. If you want to live, then tell me what I want to know and buy your own life, Lu Yin said. Qingfen's eyes narrowed and they flickered. Finally he said 3 words. Knowledge Traveler Stream. Chapter 26-25. The Six Direction Association wasn't just a name, it was a huge combination. It didn't just refer to the 6 parallel universes, but also the known parallel universes that they had conquered or cooperated with. All of these were collectively known as the Six Direction Association. The only place that could truly see the Six Direction Association was the Endless Battlefield. The Endless Battlefield was connected by many parallel universes. It was a huge barrier that formed a huge battlefield. Lu Yin had seen the Endless Battlefield through the memories of some people, so he had a better understanding of it. Since there was a battlefield, there was a commander and a commander. The Six Direction Group was the commander of the Endless Battlefield, and they were responsible for issuing orders to everyone in the Endless Battlefield. Receiving orders was not an easy task, and the everlasting race would not allow the humans to transmit information to each other so easily. Therefore, they had a special way of transmitting information about the battlefield. The Six Direction Association transmitted information to the Endless Battlefield, and the Endless Battlefield could also transmit information to the Six Direction Association through certain methods. The Six Direction Association each had their own place to receive information. In the Void God spacetime, that place was called the Knowledgeable Stream. No one knew where the Knowledgeable Stream was, as it was a secret of the Void God spacetime. Even though Lu Yin had merged with many people's bodies, he still didn't know where it was. He estimated that even Void God might not know. However, today Qingfen actually knew where the Knowledgeable Stream was through him. This was a secret of the Void God spacetime. The Sorcerer God had developed Qingfen because he wanted to use him to enter the Knowledgeable Stream and receive information from the Endless Battlefield to the Void God spacetime. The information that Yi Jun had obtained didn't come from the Knowledgeable Stream, but from a few families that had been trying to send information from the endless battlefield for many years. This method was easily disrupted and could only be considered a small method. Only the knowledgeable stream was the true source of information. Once one entered the knowledgeable stream, they could easily obtain information from the entire endless battlefield. This was what the sorcerer god wanted. Lu Yin exhaled. Rumor has it that no one in the knowledgeable stream can betray humans. How do you know where it is? And how did you get in? Qingfen was still immersed in his hatred for the villagers. As long as there was a chance to survive, he would give up everything. The sorcerer god told me. He told me to just sing and join the knowledgeable stream one day. Other than that, I don't have to do anything else. But you've developed a spy, Lu Yin said coldly. Qingfen was shocked. How do you know? Lu Yin didn't answer. Qingfen replied hoarsely, I didn't reveal my identity when I planted a spy. How did you know? Lu Yin laughed. Do you really think that your plan was flawless? Qingfen understood. You found out about me through those spies, right? I don't believe that you dare to act recklessly behind the shaman spirit's back. Joining the knowledgeable stream is very important. You've been famous for so many years and you've lived for so long just for the chance to join the knowledgeable stream. Why are you still developing spies under such circumstances? Qingfen's eyes flickered, but he didn't answer immediately. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. I'll ask you again. Why? Qingfen raised his head and looked at him. Someone told me to do this. Who? I don't know, but he's definitely a high-ranking member of the Eternals. Why did I let you develop a spy? I don't know. However, that person only said that he needed a spy and that it was inconvenient for him to appear, so he asked me to develop and promised me that I wouldn't expose my identity. What did you do after developing those spies? Nothing at all, Qingfen hurriedly replied. Lu Yin retracted his gaze. He had merged with the spy who had discovered Qingfen's identity, and he knew that Qingfen wasn't lying. Although he had developed spies, he had never asked them to do anything. This was strange. What was the point of developing spies without doing anything? Wouldn't it be easier to expose a spy with white hair? No, that couldn't be. Since it was someone from the upper echelons of the Eternals, they couldn't have sabotaged the shaman spirit's plan. What did that Eternals upper echelon look like? Lu Yin asked. Qingfen replied, I really don't know. I didn't admit that I was a spy at first, but that person was certain that I was. He even said that if I didn't want to, I could hide the scarlet eye in the village. Once that I appeared, it would be useless no matter how I quibbled. Even if he couldn't confirm my identity, the shaman spirit's plan would definitely fail. I didn't dare let the plan fail. If it did, I would lose my value, so I could only do as that person said. Lu Yin frowned. Why was this happening? He hadn't instructed Qingfen to develop anyone as a spy, nor had he asked those spies to do anything. He had spent so much effort to force Qingfen to develop a few spies. It didn't matter who these spies were or what they were used for. The only purpose of doing so was to expose Qingfen. Hold on, Lu Yin suddenly thought of something and he carefully recalled the memories that he had merged with that spy. He remembered that the spy's discovery of Qingfen's identity was also strange. How had that person discovered Qingfen's identity? He seemed to be very smart and had advanced step by step, but the investigation had gone too smoothly. This shouldn't have happened. Qingfen was very cautious. Lu Yin had disguised himself as Tu Shuang and had been forced to leave. How could a spy have discovered Qingfen's identity? It was as if someone had purposely allowed him to find out. Yes, on purpose. Lu Yin had a guess. Although it was absurd, it was deeply ingrained in his mind. The Eternals might have their own people. It was too dangerous for the shaman spirit god to let Qingfen join knowledgeable stream. If he succeeded, the Eternals would know everything about the Six Direction Association in the endless battlefield. Why had the Great Stone Saint died? Because his location had been leaked. Once the Eternals received information about the endless battlefield, the human race would suffer heavy losses. Under such circumstances, someone couldn't help it. Would that be the case? Lu Yin pondered this. This idea was laughable. He had never heard of a human spy among the Eternals, but it wasn't impossible. Not all of the Eternals were corpse kings. They had subjugated humans, and mutants were typical examples. Lu Yin buried this thought deep in his heart and brought Qingfen back to the Red Domain. Next, he would use the memories that he had merged with to completely dig out those spies. However, before that he had to watch that duel. The power of the scorching heat and the chill of the heart converged and fused together in outer space to resist a majestic and terrifying void god power. It had been 2 days since Su Heng had joined forces with Su Leng to fight against Zhou Xian. Many people were watching from afar, wanting to know the outcome of this battle. Lu Yin had been watching for 2 days. The duel had begun as soon as he had arrived, and it had been a battle of void god power. Zhou Xi's void god power far surpassed that of Su Heng and Su Leng, and they had only been able to resist until now by working together and using their yin-yang swords. Zhou Xian was an old man with a very long beard that could wrap around his neck 3 times. It seemed strange, but that beard was the void god that he had nurtured. There was no such thing as a void god forsaken, and only I have a long beard. Manor Lord, who do you think has a higher chance of winning? Lu Yin asked. Su Wuji had brought him here, and he was still unfamiliar with the power of a void god's progenitor. Su Wuji adjusted his sunglasses. Senior Zhou Xian. Lu Yin was shocked. That decisive? Su Wuji said. Both sides are currently competing in void god power, but do you know why Senior Zhou Xian lost to Master Void Prime? It was void god power. Senior Zhou Xian is a maverick and he doesn't want to cultivate void god power. He prefers to use void god power as his own to display battle techniques. Master Void Prime is a standard cultivator from the void god civilization. One uses void god power to increase his own void god power by nearly 20 times, while the other follows the norm and only has superior battle techniques at most. Who do you think is stronger? However, the gap is now closed. Ever since Senior Zhou Xian lost to Master Void Prime, he decided to nurture his void god. Although he still doesn't rely on external void god power, he nurtured his beard and turned it into a void god. It can also draw out void god power that is several times greater than his own. The only difference between him and Master Void Prime is that the gap between them has been closed, but he is more proficient in battle techniques than Master Void Prime. If Su Heng and Su Leng had been able to use their void god power to gain the upper hand at the start, then it would have been hard to say who would win this duel. But now, anyone who understands Senior Zhou Xian and Master Void Prime knows the result. Lu Yin nodded. So you're saying that Senior Zhou Xian used his void god power right from the start just to? That's right, it was to save time. He wanted to tell Su Heng and Su Leng that they had no hope of winning this duel, Su Wuji said. Lu Yin looked over. He had thought that the 2 of them would be able to gain the upper hand if they worked together, but there was still a gap between them. How could the 6th Mainland's mutants resist a powerhouse like Xianxia who could rival the 9 mountains and 8 seas? Even if the 2 mutants worked together, the result would still be the same. Lu Yin also felt that Zhou Xi's power surpassed Xianxia's. Zhou Xi's power was similar to Xianxia's, but as long as he used his beard, he would be able to release void god power that was 10 times greater than his own. Even Xianxia would be suppressed. This was the strength of a void god civilization. At that moment, Su Wuji's expression changed. He looked behind him and saw Su Wuwei's figure appear. Senior Su Wuwei? Lu Yin turned around and quickly bowed. Greetings, Senior. Su Wuwei ignored the 2 and continued to watch the duel in the distance. 2 Void Prime Realm cultivators appeared at once. Not bad, not bad. Hee. Senior, you've returned from the endless battlefield? Su Wuji greeted him. Su Wuwei replied, I almost died. It's best if you don't go to that place as often as possible. He then looked at Lu Yin and sighed in admiration. I heard that you captured quite a few spies, including Lotus Reverend's disciple? Lu Yin quickly recounted what had happened and Su Wuwei sighed. The Ecstasy Manor hasn't been able to achieve much in so many years, but you've done so the moment you entered. No one would believe that you weren't a spy. Lu Yin was shocked. Senior, you can't joke about this. Su Wuji was shocked as well. Senior, what do you mean? Su Wuwei replied, It's not like the Eternals haven't done something like this before. They intentionally let a spy expose another spy to gain merit. Have you forgotten how the 5th Mainland started a war with the 6th Mainland? It's a pity that we didn't have the ability to interfere back then. Otherwise, things wouldn't have turned out this way. Chapter 26-26. Lu Yin bowed deeply, his expression solemn. I'm definitely not a spy for the Eternals. If you don't believe me, you can investigate me. Void Master has seen me before. I know you're not a spy. I was just joking, so why are you taking it so seriously? Su Wuji took out something to eat from his cosmic ring and even a drink from Su Wuji. He then looked into the distance as if he was watching a show. That old bastard Xiao Xi's void god's power has increased again. I should advise him not to go to the endless battlefield. It would be bad if he died there. There are so many old fogies in the reincarnation spacetime, so why not just let them fight it out? Our void god spacetime should be the best place to hide. Staying alive is better than anything else, Su Wuwei said as he watched. Su Wuji was speechless. Although this was the truth, there was no need to say it out loud. Su Wuwei's appearance made Lu Yin's heart heavy. No matter what he did, Su Wuwei's impression of him remained the same. What do you plan to do with Lotus Reverend's disciples? Su Wuwei asked. Lu Yin replied, I don't need to explain things to them. What if Lotus Reverend comes looking for you? Su Wuwei asked again. Lu Yin did not answer. What could he do against Lotus Reverend? I'll help you deal with Lotus Reverend's pressure. You can stay in the Heaven's Mirror Manor and work for the humans. There are benefits to being scheming. At least you'll be able to find spies. Lu Yin relaxed. Thank you, Senior. How did you know that you could fool Qingfen by pretending to be the witch spirit god? Su Wei did not stop talking and instead continued asking. He had not been joking when he first asked that question. Lu Yin had caught so many spies as soon as he entered the Heaven's Mirror Manor, which was something that no ordinary person could do. However, it would not be good to suspect Lu Yin of being a spy just because of this, as it would chill people's hearts. This was why he had asked this question now. If Lu Yin's answer was not good, both Su Wuwei and Su Wuji would suspect him. Su Wuji had thought about this question before, but he had not had the time to ask. Lu Yin had already thought of an excuse. After I disguised myself as Tu Shuang and was chased away by Qingfen, I was followed by the witch spirit god. Void 5 Tastes and Void Extreme were both shocked. The sorcerer spirit god was following you. Lu Yin nodded. He wanted to capture me. The only reason why Qingfen wasn't tricked by Tu Shuang might be because he was cautious, but it might also be because of the witch spirit god's instructions. Thus, I disguised myself as the witch spirit god and easily tricked Qingfen. In addition, Tu Shuang was indeed captured by me and I released her in front of Qingfen. Qingfen naturally wouldn't suspect anything. Shaman spirit god, how did you escape? Su Wei asked as he stared at Lu Yin. Lu Yin looked up. Because of Tai Xian. He knew that Lu Yin had Tai Jade, which was how he had found out that Yunwu was a spy and had accepted his invitation to join the Heaven's Reflection Hall. Although the witch spirit god was powerful, he could only appear in the void god's spacetime as a clone, and each clone was at most at the void transformation realm. Tai Jade was more than enough to escape. Su Wuji knew, but Su Wuwei did not. When he heard Lu Yin mention Tai Xian, he was confused. What Tai Xian? The void was extremely strange. Lu Yin replied, Tai Xian was taught by Senior. What does that have to do with Tai Xian? Su Wei still did not react, mainly because he did not think that Lu Yin had already mastered Tai Xian. Tai Xian was related to space, and even a virtual realm expert like Xianxia would not be able to master it so easily, let alone a junior like Lu Yin. How could Lu Yin have possibly mastered it? Lu Yin replied, Junior was initiated by Tai Xian. I relied on my understanding of space to escape. The witch spirit god searched everywhere for me and I took advantage of that opportunity to trick Qingfen. If I had been a step later, the witch spirit god might have returned. What did you say? You were initiated by Tai Xian? Su Wuwei exclaimed. Su Wuji was astonished. Senior, you didn't know? Xianxia joined the Heaven's Reflection Hall because he was initiated by Tai Xian. He could see the traces left behind in space and easily catch spies. Su Wei did not hear Su Wuji's words at all and he stared at Lu Yin. You were initiated by Tai Xian? Lu Yin nodded. Sort of. Su Wei had not taught Lu Yin Tai Xian out of the goodness of his heart, but purely out of obligation. He had been certain that Lu Yin would not be able to learn it, which was why he had taught him. He wanted to give others the impression that he was doing his best, and if Su Wei asked he would be able to explain. But how had this kid been initiated? Impossible. Try it. Su Wei didn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. Lu Yin raised a hand and Void God's power revolved. Lines extended along the lines in space, revealing Tai Xian. Su Wuji was envious as he could not understand. Su Wei was stunned as if he had been struck by lightning. How was this possible? How could this kid have initiated by Xian? Damn it, this was impossible. As the lines disappeared, Su Wuwei was still unable to react. Su Wuji exclaimed, "Congratulations, senior, for accepting such a talented disciple." From Su Wuwei barked, giving Su Wuji a fright. Why was Su Wuji angry? He looked at Lu Yin only to see the latter's confused gaze. Su Wuwei did not know what to say as he felt as if his family's treasure had been stolen by someone else. However, he was the one who had told this kid the location of the treasure trove. How did you initiate it? Lu Yin blinked. I just started practicing. I'm quite diligent. Was this a matter of diligence? Su Wuwei's face twitched and the delicious food suddenly lost its fragrance. You can't possibly initiate it just by practicing. How did you do it? What's wrong, senior? Lu Yin asked. Su Wuwei took a deep breath and stared at Lu Yin solemnly. Xianxia, I'll ask you one more time. How did you initiate it? Lu Yin coughed under Su Wuwei's dangerous gaze. Perhaps it has something to do with my wood innate gift. Su Wuwei did not understand. What would innate gift? Space. Lu Yin's reply almost caused Su Wuwei to vomit blood. You have an innate gift of space? Su Wuwei was stunned. Lu Yin nodded. Su Wuwei was speechless. No wonder Lu Yin could initiate Xian. Xian was related to space and this kid had an innate gift of space. Xian was a battle technique tailor-made for him. He wanted to slap himself to death. Are you unhappy, senior? Lu Yin asked. Su Wuwei looked at Lu Yin. Why didn't you say you had an innate gift of space earlier? You didn't ask, senior, Lu Yin said naturally. Su Wuwei's expression turned ugly. You got it from the wood dimension. Lu Yin nodded. Su Wuwei finally understood. No wonder Su Xiangyin had been so anxious to take this kid as a disciple. No wonder Mu Shikong wanted to steal this kid away. It was all his fault. He should have asked more questions back then, but he had been so preoccupied with hating this kid that he had forgotten to ask. The more he thought about it, the more upset he felt. If he could, he really wanted to cripple this kid's innate gift of space and see how he could use Xian. From now on, Xian would no longer be his symbol. Damn it! Where did the wood dimension get a tree with an innate gift of space? Su Wuwei was curious and decided to get to the bottom of it. Lu Yin said, according to Third Master Mu, that tree has appeared many times, especially in large battles. It's good at taking away some of the powerhouses and escaping. That's it. Su Wuwei exclaimed, you met that despicable tree? Lu Yin nodded, I think so. Su Wuwei looked Lu Yin up and down as if trying to get to know him all over again. Lu Yin said, it was a close call back in the wood spirit region. If I hadn't reacted quickly enough, I would have been taken away by it. I was so close, so close. Su Wuwei opened his mouth to say something but no words came out. In the end he left without even watching the battle. He had been forced to leave in anger. Su Wuji came over. What happened? Lu Yin shrugged. I don't know. Su Wuji felt strange but he didn't ask any questions. The battle had changed and the Void God's power had weakened. Congratulations on the two of you breaking through to the virtual realm, but there's still a gap between you and me. Perhaps in 10,000 years, you'll be able to catch up, but right now you're not my match, Xianxia said in a low and lonely voice. It was obvious that he had thought of Master Void Prime from Su Heng and Su Lung's power. Although he and Master Void Prime had fought many times due to differing beliefs, they were still friends. Xianxia had once gone to the endless battlefield to retrieve Master Void Prime's corpse, which had been a huge risk. But I'm curious. Where did you find the Yin Yang sword? Xianxia asked. Su Heng replied, I'll tell you after this battle. You still want to fight? Xianxia shook his head. My only advantage against voids was my Void God's power. Now Void God's power is no longer an advantage, so there's no need to fight anymore. My elephant barrier is something that voids can't hope to match, let alone you. Su Lung's expression turned serious. Senior, do you really think that Ancestor Void Prime is stubborn and won't change? Xianxia was astonished. Senior, you've opened up a new path for many people who couldn't achieve anything on the path of Void God. Even Ancestor praised this miracle. Senior was able to cultivate the path of Void God again because of Ancestor, so Ancestor will naturally change for you, Su Lung continued. Xiaoxi's eyes burned with passion. Void Prime changed for me? Has he studied battle techniques? I really want to experience Senior's elephant wall. This is also what Ancestor Void Prime wanted to see. Even if Senior didn't send us a challenge letter, we'll still challenge Senior once we reach the virtual realm. This was Ancestor Void Prime's order before he went to the endless battlefield, Zhou Xian said. Xianxia laughed. Good. That old geezer Void Prime didn't disappoint me. I took advantage of his strength to cultivate my Void God, and he took advantage of my strength to cultivate battle techniques. Good, let me see what kind of battle technique he created to dare fight me. After he finished speaking, a thick stone wall appeared in front of him. He pushed the stone wall horizontally and charged towards Su Heng and Su Lung. His palm imprints were imprinted on the stone wall, bringing out heavy palm imprints that swept through the void and shattered the stars. Lu Yin's expression changed slightly. Every palm imprint that swept through the void was not simple, and it gave him a strong sense of danger. Su Wuji sighed. The elephant wall is extremely heavy in the universe. Only Senior Xianxia can use a unique battle technique to attack through the elephant wall. Every attack contains the elephant wall's extremely heavy force. It's said that when he fought with Master Void Prime, even Master Void Prime's yin-yang sword couldn't withstand the palm energy that passed through the elephant wall and was almost shattered. Chapter 26-27. In the face of Xiaoxi's heavy palm, Su Heng and Su Ling used their techniques at the same time. Burning Yang and Heart Yin converged, and through the yin-yang sword they drew out the power of Yang into Yin and Yin into Yang, returning the heavy palm back to Xiaoxi. Xiaoxi's eyes widened. Good. He then unleashed a barrage of attacks from the elephantine wall, but Su Heng and Su Ling worked together to display the power of Yin and Yang to return the attacks. Void Prime had never thought of taking the elephantine wall's heavy attack head-on. Even if he couldn't take it head-on, he could still neutralize it or even return it. A strange scene appeared in the starry sky. Countless attacks collided with each other. Scorching heat and extreme cold alternated. Terrifying foe god power boiled and swept out in all directions, forcing everyone to retreat until they could no longer see it. Lu Yin saw the wisdom of the Void God universe's predecessors. Not only was Void Prime gifted in the Void God Dao, but he was also shockingly talented in battle techniques. The Fifth Mainland had given birth to people like Progenitor Qin, Progenitor Ku, and the Symbol Progenitor. Other parallel universes could also give birth to people like them. If Void Prime was still alive, who knew what he would have been like? Perhaps he wouldn't have been any weaker than Su Wei. Because the shockwaves from the battle had forced everyone back, no one besides Su Wuji could see the battle clearly. Half a day later, the battle ended. Lu Yin hadn't been able to see the battle clearly either, as he couldn't display the power of a progenitor in front of Su Wuji. Senior, what was the result? Su Wuji was silent for a moment. A draw. Lu Yin was shocked. A draw. Su Wuji sighed. Void Prime made up for the lack of battle techniques, and Senior Xiaoxi also made up for the weakness in Void God power. It's normal for both sides to be tied, and perhaps this is the best result. My Void God universe doesn't have any power that should be cultivated. Lu Yin looked over. Indeed, there was no power that should be cultivated. The primordial space was the same. Astral source power covered the universe, but there were still many other powers that were as dazzling as the stars. Rune lines, death energy, Sirius, lock-breaking, and so on. There was no need to only cultivate astral source. Xiaoxi's laughter resounded through space, and everyone thought that he had won. Old Void Prime's descendants, you've won, huh? Xiaoxi laughed. Su Heng hurriedly said, Senior, you clearly won. We're ashamed, so we joined forces to fight against you. Ha, how delightful, how delightful. Xiaoxi laughed loudly. His laughter gradually faded away as he left. Not long after, he saw Su Heng and Su Lung. Brother, we'll go back and treat our injuries first. If there's anything, just come to the clan and look for us, Su Heng said. Lu Yin nodded. Understood. A duel that had been going on for a long time had come to an end. It was a good ending. It was just a test of each other's beliefs, not a battle of life and death. However, it still caused an uproar in the virtual god universe. Some people said that Xiaoxi had won, while others said that Su Heng and Su Lung had won. However, most people said that it was a draw. No matter who won this battle, Su Heng and Su Lung had made a name for themselves. There were only a few virtual Tai Realm Masters in the Nihility God universe, and Xiaoxi was already considered an extreme master second only to Su Wei. Su Heng teamed up with Su Leng to fight to a draw with Xiao Ci, and this caused the reputation of the Void Yang and Void Yin clans in the Nihility God universe to soar. They had just stepped into the virtual Tai realm, and as time passed, their cultivation would continue to soar. At that time, the situation in the Nihility God universe would change. Most importantly, the two clans had recovered the Yin Yang sword. As long as there were no accidents, it was almost certain that there would be a generation of virtual Tai realm masters. This was the most terrifying thing. Xianxia, who had helped them recover the Yin Yang sword, was naturally mentioned a lot. Many people said that Xianxia was already a rising star in the Nihility God universe. Not long after Lu Yin made his move, he continued to capture spies in the Void God spacetime, and no one dared to stop him. With the backs of the Void Yang and Void Yin clans, as well as the support of Su Wuwei and Su Yang from the Heaven's Mirror Manor, the four Void Tai realm powerhouses standing behind Lu Yin, and no one in the Void God spacetime dared to go against him. Lu Yin's capture of spies was also very accurate, and he announced that Yi Jun and Qingfen had told him to do so. For a time, the Nihility God universe was in a state of panic, and no one paid attention to the Heaven's Mirror Manor. Wherever the Heaven's Mirror Manor made a move, there would be an uproar. In just half a year, the Heaven's Mirror Manor had captured more than 100 spies, shocking the Nihility God universe and the Six Directions Association. Not only were they shocked by Lu Yin's methods, but they were also shocked by the number of spies. And this was only through Yi Jun and Qingfen. Who knew how many more were hidden behind the scenes? Lu Yin's reputation in the Nihility God universe continued to rise, and his words were absolute in the Heaven's Mirror Manor. Even Su Wuji would not oppose his decisions. In the Nihility God universe, on a rather bustling planet, a spacecraft constantly ascended and descended as alarms rang throughout the planet. "Young master, let's go. The people from the Heaven's Mirror Manor are coming this way," the old man said anxiously. A golden dagger floated above his shoulder. It was his Nihility God. In front of him, the youth's gaze was gloomy. "So what if they're coming? I'm not a spy. What's there to be afraid of?" "Young master, you're not a spy, but master is," the old man said anxiously. The youth suddenly turned around and glared at the old man. "Why didn't you stop father? He actually betrayed the humans and became a spy. What is he trying to do? Is he trying to kill us? If he didn't do that, the family would have been finished. How do you think we got this planet? This is the price master has to pay for becoming a spy. Let's go, young master." The old man grabbed the youth and was about to take him away, but the youth struggled free. "Where's father?" Master. The old man was speechless. The youth's eyes flickered, and when he saw the old man's hesitant expression, he bitterly said, "He ran away, right?" The old man sighed. "He left me behind and ran away by himself. Had to think that I thought he cared about me." The youth was despondent and he waved a hand. "You can leave too. Don't worry about me." The old man grabbed the youth again. "If you want to leave, you'll have to leave with young master. Let's go." The youth continued to struggle, but suddenly one spacecraft after another exploded, and Nihility God's power pressed down on him. The old man shuddered. It's still too late. In outer space, Lu Yin walked out with Guan Lao De, Su Yu, and a group of cultivators from the Heaven's Mirror Manor behind him. Beams of light shot out. Guan Lao De frowned. "How dare you?" Nihility God's power swept out, causing all of the spacecraft to explode and the planet to tremble. Lu Yin raised a hand to stop him. "There's no mistake about this planet." He then looked in a certain direction and took a step forward. When he reappeared, he was right in front of the youth. The youth's body swayed and he almost fell to the ground. The pressure from the Nihility God's power blurred his vision. The old man hurriedly stood in front of the youth and knelt down to beg. "Mr. Xian 7, this has nothing to do with the young master. The spy was master's and it has nothing to do with the young master. Please let the young master off, I'm guilty as well." Xi was not surprised. She had captured many spies during this period, and some of them had directly admitted to their crimes. Guan Lao De snorted. "Don't even think about escaping. I'll go capture them, Mr. Xian." Lu Yin nodded and Guan Lao De left. The youth stubbornly looked at Lu Yin. "I'm not a spy." "I know," Lu Yin replied. He then looked at the old man kneeling in front of him. "You're willing to sacrifice yourself for your son." The old man's eyes narrowed and his face paled. The youth frowned and looked at Lu Yin in confusion. What did you say? Lu Yin explained, the one kneeling in front of me is your father and the one who ran away is a fake. You're just a chess piece left behind by that person. It's an interesting setup, but unfortunately it's useless. The youth couldn't believe it and he looked at the kneeling old man. Impossible, you're spouting nonsense. Lu Yin's lips curled up. You want the one who ran away to be your father? The youth's mind was in a mess and he didn't know what to do. The old man closed his eyes, feeling weak all over. Had he not been able to fool Lu Yin after all? Lu Yin looked outside. The spacecraft had exploded, the flames were burning and a few people were wailing. They didn't deserve any sympathy as they had done anything wrong. They were all the pawns of that spy. The youth's screams and the old man's despairing cries could be heard from behind him. Some people liked to act smart, whether it was the spy or the old man. The old man had hoped that his son would obtain good resources, and he had been willing to let his son become that person's son on the surface. That person had achieved his goal and so had the old man. Only the young man had suffered, but he had also enjoyed a lot over the years. Even though the others had been captured, if this youth hadn't betrayed the humans, then he would still have a chance to escape. With his current level of cultivation, it would be much better than being a wandering cultivator. There were gains and losses. The continuous capture of spies caused Xianxi's name to spread throughout the Six Paths Society. Lu Yin knew that the Eternals would definitely find a way to get rid of him, and he was looking forward to seeing what kind of power the Eternals had left behind in the Void God spacetime. Acting Manor Master, someone requests an audience, the butler reported respectfully. Who is it? Lu Yin looked at the list in his hand. All of the spies that he had infiltrated had been identified, and the next ones he captured would either have to continue infiltrating or be analyzed. Ku Jian from a spacetime continuum, the butler reported. Lu Yin put down the list. Please. Ku Jian quickly entered the red domain and arrived at the clock tower. Lu Yin didn't welcome him and he simply stood at the top of the tower and looked down. This was the red domain, the heaven's reflection manor. Even though Ku Jian had the strength of a half-ancestor, he could only request an audience here and could not casually tear through the void to enter. This was a rule that even Void God realm cultivators had to abide by, let alone someone from a spacetime continuum like Ku Jian. Ku Jian looked up and met Lu Yin's gaze. Ku Jian's expression was calm, but the depths of his eyes changed once more. He realized that every time he met Lu Yin's attitude would change. Initially, Lu Yin had looked down on him, but later on, they had cooperated and treated each other as equals. Now Lu Yin was the acting manor master of the Heaven's Reflection Manor and had Su Wei, Su Wuji, Su Heng and Su Lung as his backing. Even He Ran would have to change his attitude when meeting Lu Yin again. This person had single-handedly changed Lu Yin's attitude towards Ku Jian in an extremely short amount of time. Ku Jian took a deep breath and entered the clock tower, where the butler led him to Lu Yin. Senior should be here soon. Lu Yin smiled and invited Ku Jian to take a seat. Ku Jian smiled and politely replied, Sorry to disturb you, acting manor master. Lu Yin laughed. Senior, why are you being so formal? Please take a seat. Chapter 26-28. Ku Jian nodded and sat down. He smiled. Acting Academy Master's name has spread throughout the Six Direction Society. Lady He Ran sent her regards. Thank you, Lady He Ran. Lu Yin smiled. The two chatted for a while before Ku Jian cut to the chase. Can Acting Academy Master recommend us to purchase resources from the Void God universe? Lu Yin replied, Didn't we agree on this before? Are you worried? Of course not, Ku Jian hurriedly replied. It wasn't that he was worried but rather that He Ran was worried. Lu Yin's status had changed too quickly, and he had changed the status of the Heaven's Reflection Manor in the Void God universe. No one dared to offend the Heaven's Reflection Manor, and they were worried that Lu Yin would no longer care about them. He Ran was smart and she knew that Xianxia was no longer the same as before. She had once told Zijing that even if Xianxia entered the Void God universe and became a disciple of an extreme powerhouse, she would still have a way to deal with him. However, she didn't dare to say such a thing now, as Lu Yin didn't just have one extreme powerhouse backing him. There were 4 of them. Ku Jian had also come to test Lu Yin's attitude towards the Void God universe. He wanted to know if this person's attitude towards the Void God universe had changed. The result made him heave a sigh of relief, as this person hadn't changed at all. Although Lu Yin had put on airs, it was normal for him to maintain his status. Soon after, Lu Yin and Ku Jian left the Heaven's Reflection Manor and headed towards the Void Yang and Void Yin clans to trade for the two-colored soil. Ku Jian could sense that Lu Yin's cultivation had changed too much. Although he was shocked, he didn't ask any questions. Having an extreme powerhouse as a master was indeed different. Although Su Wei was only Lu Yin's guide, Lu Yin could use Taishan, so he was definitely Su Wei's disciple. Su Wei was in existence second only to the Void Master in the Void God universe. Ku Jian looked at Lu Yin with envy. When Lu Yin arrived, the Void Yang and Void Yin clans gave him a grand welcome. Su Heng and Su Ling even personally came out to give Lu Yin face. This allowed Ku Jian to see Lu Yin's status in the two clans. The two-colored soil trade went smoothly. Ever since Su Ling broke through to the Void Tai realm, the entire Void Yin tribe obeyed her every word. The animosity of the past had long disappeared. The Void Yang tribe and Void Yin tribe walked down the path of merging their powers even more easily. Now they no longer referred to themselves as one tribe to the outside world. Instead, they referred to themselves as two tribes. Su Lai had gone to the Six Direction Dojo at her own request. Su Ling did not stop her. She did not blame Su Lai for wanting to replace her. On the contrary, Su Lai was highly valued. Not everyone could go to the Six Direction Dojo as they wished. Su Lai was not at the Void Transformation Realm, but he could go to the Six Direction Dojo. After the two-colored soil transaction, Lu Yin and Ku Jian left the Void Yang and Void Yin tribes. Ku Jian's attitude towards Lu Yin became even more courteous, as this person's influence was simply too great. "Senior," Lu Yin called out. Ku Jian hurriedly replied, "Substitute Academy Master, please don't call me senior anymore. Just call me Ku Jian." "How can that be?" Lu Yin asked. Ku Jian smiled bitterly. "If I call you senior, again, how am I supposed to face Senior Su Heng and the others in the future?" Lu Yin nodded. "All right. Ku Jian, when will the trade in the primordial space take place?" Ku Jian replied, "If you have the time, I can do it now." "What about Zijing? Does she have time?" Lu Yin asked. Ku Jian replied, "Yes, I can go pick her up right now." "Then you can go pick her up. I'll go back to the primordial space myself." Just as Ku Jian was about to leave, Lu Yin suddenly asked, "How many people know that I came from the primordial space?" Ku Jian thought about it. "Not many. Lord He Ran, me, Lord He Shu and Lord Mo. Just the four of us." "Lord Mo? The powerhouse who was protecting Lord He Ran?" Lu Yin was curious. Ku Jian nodded. Lu Yin waved for Ku Jian to head to the transcending space while he himself headed to the Eternal Kingdom. He then used the Eternal Kingdom to return to the Fifth Mainland. When he returned to the Above the Sky sect, Lu Yin met with Lu Bujing and the others. He learned that the Fifth Mainland had not been doing much recently, and that Elder Chan was resisting the Forgotten Ruins deity in the Three Monarchs spacetime. Although it was dangerous, as long as Lord Luo did not want the Three Monarchs spacetime to be destroyed, he would do his best. Lu Yin wondered how Xiaxia was doing. "There's something you need to take note of." Wang Wen opened his gadget and displayed the images of several people. "These people are from the Six Direction Association." Lu Yin was shocked. "The Six Direction Association?" Wang Wen nodded. "The power they use is completely different from any of the Fifth Mainland's cultivation systems. They're not very powerful, but they've never appeared in the Fifth Mainland before. They're also not from the Six Direction Association's six parallel spacetimes. They should be from another parallel spacetime, but they're working for the Six Direction Association. These people's cultivations aren't very high," Lu Yin commented. Wang Wen said, "That's the problem. It's not easy for the Six Direction Association to come to the Genesis space. According to what you said, the Three Monarchs spacetimes did not directly come to our coordinates, and there are only a few people who can come to our Genesis space. With their cultivation, they shouldn't be able to catch the attention of those people, so why did they send them here? We've been watching them for a long time, but they haven't done anything. They're just like normal cultivators. From what I can see, they're just trying to adapt to life in the Genesis space." Lu Yin frowned. The Six Direction Association's attitude towards the Genesis space was not friendly, so these people definitely had a goal in mind. But what was it? "You didn't catch any of them and ask them?" "We did. That person told us everything. Their goal was to adapt to life in the Genesis space and nothing else. It's that simple. It should be to let them adapt first. If there's any mission, they'll be given it later. Lu Yin said, then don't worry about them. I'll ask around about the Sixth Direction Association. This time the transaction between transdimensional space and the Home of the Gods had been completed, and the Home of the Gods had obtained even more resources than the previous transaction. However, as the transaction was nearing its end, the Mirror God asked to go to transdimensional space to take a look, which was not an unreasonable request. The sect above heaven has already begun investigating the loss of resources. Although they haven't found any problems yet, something could happen at any time. Lu Yin asked, did Lu Yin order the investigation? Tai Yishan replied, I specifically looked for Lu Yin some time ago, but he's been in seclusion all this time. It shouldn't be him investigating but either Lu Bujing or Wang Wen. Ku Jian's gaze turned cold. Should we get rid of them? Mirror God hurriedly said, please don't. These two stay in the sect above heaven all year round. The sect above heaven is not an ordinary place. Even half-ancestors can't return unless a progenitor intervenes. Killing intent flashed through Ku Jian's eyes. Resources were what transdimensional space valued the most, and he was specifically in charge of this area. He had received a death order that if there was a problem with the transaction he would be in trouble. He would not allow such a thing to happen. Fortunately, the sect above heaven doesn't suspect anything. These resources are too little for the entire Fifth Mainland, and no matter how much they investigate, they won't be able to trace it back to the Home of the Gods. However, I believe that transdimensional space wants more than these resources. Ku Jian replied, of course, if possible, I want all of the primordial space's resources. Mirror God glanced at Lu Yin and whispered, that's why I want to go to transdimensional space to take a look. At the very least, I'll know what my backup plan is. Lu Yin replied, that's a reasonable request. Ku Jian, can you ask Master Hiran for permission? Ku Jian replied, there's no need for that. This is our second transaction, so we should naturally take them to take a look. Will acting potentate come with us or? Zijing interjected, let's go together. We haven't seen each other in a long time. There's too much going on at Heaven's Reflection Manor. Lu Yin was troubled. Zijing pursed her lips. Then I won't force you. Lu Yin took a deep breath. Forget it, it's time to rest. I'll go with you. Zijing smiled. All right. Ku Jian saw everything and then brought Lu Yin, Zijing, Mirror God and Tai Yishan to transdimensional space. Tai Yishan hadn't spoken much before and after the transaction, but his relationship with Lu Yin was quite good and his status wasn't any lower than Mirror God's. Ku Jian didn't look down on him either. Lu Yin knew too little about transdimensional space. Even though he and Zijing had been captured and brought here, they had only been to a few places and spent most of their time fighting in the drifting cloud space. They didn't even have a basic understanding of transdimensional space. Under Ku Jian's guidance, Lu Yin finally experienced the local customs of transdimensional space and saw the prosperity of this cultivation civilization. Mirror God and Tai Yishan also had their horizons broadened, especially when they saw the host of the feed technique. They were stunned speechless for a long time. Ku Jian was very satisfied with their shock, just like how the Six Directions Society viewed the primordial space. Although they had made a deal with each other and seemed to respect each other, Ku Jian had never cared about the Home of the Gods. Even if the Home of the Gods had a strange method of creating something out of nothing, it couldn't compare to the feed technique and the energy source. Ku Jian brought them around for a few days, but that wasn't enough time to understand transdimensional space. However, they only needed to understand one thing: transdimensional space's power. They saw the feed technique with their own eyes, displaying the destructive power of a half-ancestor. They also saw the energy source restore all energy to its original state. They also saw the feed technique create something similar to a spatial teleportation source box array. This was something that Lu Yin had never seen before. Transdimensional space's feed technique had displayed too many miraculous and powerful abilities, causing Mirror God and the others' expressions to change again and again. Lu Yin's understanding of transdimensional space had been too superficial, but only now did he understand a little. The power of feed can theoretically erase all living things. As long as enough matter is extracted from the source box, it can even destroy the universe, Ku Jian explained. He didn't want to show off in front of Mirror God and the others, but he wanted to tell Lu Yin that no matter how high his status was, he couldn't ignore transdimensional space. Transdimensional space was one of the Six Directions Society, and it was an incomparably powerful existence that wasn't any weaker than the Void God's universe. After showing off their power, Kujian wanted to take them to relax. The transdimensional space's favorite place was the Beast Arena. We develop and research cultivation techniques. We aren't good at cultivation, but we like to watch cultivators fight astral beasts. This is the best way for us to relax in transdimensional space. Acting Academy Master, please. Kujian introduced as he led Lu Yin to the largest beast arena. Chapter 26-29. Lu Yin sat down and looked in front of him. This was the place where he had been sent to fight to the death, but at that time he had been fighting inside. Now he was watching from the beast arena. There was a sea of people all around and cheers could be heard everywhere. The more civilized a person was, the more they needed a barbaric way to vent. Not only could they vent their stress, but they could also show their superiority. This was a barbaric civilization. To cultivators, this sort of beast arena was meaningless. They might fight every day, but in the hyperspace world they could only watch from here. How long has it been since I fought inside? Lu Yin asked as a beautiful woman dressed in revealing clothing served him. When she heard Lu Yin's question, she almost spilled the drink she had just poured. Mirror God and Tai Yishan were shocked. The Tao Lord had fought there before? Kujian answered, more than 3 years. Lu Yin reminisced, 3 years. It doesn't seem like a long time, but it feels like a lifetime has passed. Kujian smiled. The Acting Academy Master has reached his current position in just 3 years. Anyone who understands him would find it unbelievable. Lu Yin smiled, even I find it unreal. On the beast arena, one man and one beast fought fiercely. Lu Yin could clearly see the fear and despair in that person's eyes. Not too long ago, Lu Yin had also felt the same way, but he had fought his way out. He had started from Drift Charge Planet and started from the bottom, but this person had not been so lucky. The roars of the beasts and the cries of the people were quickly drowned out by the endless cheers. Countless people were clamoring about something, making a ruckus of excitement. Kujian had been observing Lu Yin the entire time, but his calm expression made it impossible to tell what he was thinking. Why did that person fight? Lu Yin suddenly asked. Kujian replied, there are many reasons, whether it was a punishment or a willingness. If the Acting Academy Master wants to know, I can get someone to ask. Lu Yin waved a hand, no need. He then paused and his lips curled up. Lord Hiran, do you like to watch these kinds of shows? Kujian had not expected Lu Yin to ask this, and he didn't know how to answer. Lu Yin smiled, if you don't know, then forget it. The final result was unexpected. That person actually survived. Even though he was in a miserable state and had lost 2 of his limbs, he was still alive. The moment he was carried off, his eyes shone with hope. He had not been punished, but rather had willingly fought. This victory should be able to exchange for something that could change his life. Everyone had their own path, and Lu Yin would not interfere with the choices of others, even if he could change that person's fate with a single sentence. He raised his head and looked at the sky. Was there really someone controlling all of this? Would that person feel pity when he saw this? At this moment, cheers once again erupted as another person entered the arena. That person's opponent was a gigantic bat-like creature that took up 1/3 of the beast arena, making it impossible for that person to escape. Lu Yin looked over and was surprised. Xia Wu. You know him? Zijing asked. Lu Yin nodded. Kujian, isn't he Xia Wu? Why would he choose men enter the beast arena? At this moment in the beast field, Xia Wu was trembling. He looked in horror at the giant beast that was struggling madly in front of him. His eyes were filled with despair. Kujian explained, the first batch of people to join the Hexagon training grounds has already left, and everyone has a position. Xia Wu and a few others were assigned to guard the research data, which was originally a very relaxed position. However, someone took advantage of the situation and destroyed the data, causing the research progress to slow down and waste at least a few years of their time. Lord Hiran ordered them to be thrown into the beast arena. Once they're released, they won't blame anyone if they die. Lu Yin looked at Zijing. Zijing explained, that data was recorded decades ago and we're going to redo the research. Lu Yin understood. Does the acting potentate know this Xia Wu? Kujian asked. Lu Yin replied, we've met once. Then what does the acting potentate mean? Kujian asked. Lu Yin replied, This is Lord He Ran's will. What can I mean? Ku Jian replied, if the acting potentate doesn't want Xia Wu to die here, just say the word, and Lord He Ran will give you face. Lu Yin smiled and didn't say anything. Xia Wu was doomed, and that bat beast wasn't something he could deal with. Although this person had a battle technique and might have an innate gift of wood, he relied on energy sources the most. Without that source, his power level would be greatly reduced, and it would be strange if he survived. He Shu hadn't protected him. Xia Wu's battle was much more exciting than the previous person's. He used the Stone Gate's 8 hands and Void God's strength, and even used a sneak attack to break one of the bat beast's teeth. He then used that tooth to use the Stone Jian and Roaming Dragon's flash, but his body was still bitten by the bat beast. It was only a matter of time before he died. There were obviously people outside the arena who didn't want him to die so quickly. Every time the bat beast tried to eat him, he would be dragged away. This kind of struggle between life and death was the most despairing. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. Why don't they just let him die? Ku Jian answered, it's a rule of the beast arena. Once the cheers for a battle reach a certain level, the battle will continue until the cheers die down. It's to make the spectators excited and move the mood of the entire beast arena. Lu Yin looked around and saw that there were too many people cheering. The more Xia Wu struggled, the happier they were. Within the beast arena, Xia Wu coughed up blood as he slammed into the ground. A shadow loomed over him as the gigantic bat opened its mouth to bite him. Xia Wu's body was dragged out of the arena. The gigantic bat chomped down on the ground, but it didn't manage to eat him. The same scene played out over and over again, and Xia Wu gradually gave up struggling. He wanted to die, and he would rather die than endure this kind of torture. There was a thump as the ground shook and Xia Wu was dragged away again. He had already given up on struggling and the cheers died down. If he didn't struggle, how could others enjoy this? However, Xia Wu immediately started struggling again and the cheers grew louder. Lu Yin looked outside and saw that someone was threatening Xia Wu that if he gave up struggling, they would throw his sister into the beast arena. This made Xia Wu go crazy and he vented his anger on the bat beast. The two fought again and the cheers grew louder and louder. How cruel. At that moment, a commotion came from behind. Lu Yin looked over and saw that it was Suiyu. Suiyu hadn't expected to see Lu Yin here, but her surprise only lasted for a moment. She was looking for Zijing. Get out. Ku Jian barked. Suiyu shouted, please let my grandfather go. I'm willing to fight in the beast arena. It has nothing to do with my grandfather. Ku Jian's eyes widened and he was about to say something when Lu Yin said, let her do it. Ku Jian was stunned, but he didn't object and simply waved a hand. Suiyu rushed in and knelt in front of Zijing. Lady Zijing, it's my fault that the information was damaged. I'm willing to fight in the beast arena, but please don't implicate my grandfather. He can't leave the decision-making team, please. Zijing said. This wasn't my decision. Suiyu continued to plead, please, we can retest the information. Just say the word and my grandfather won't have to leave the decision-making team. Please. Ku Jian coldly replied, I've said what I needed to say. Get out and don't disturb the guests. Suiyu, what's going on? When did you leave 6th Direction Training Hall? Lu Yin asked. Suiyu's body trembled, but he didn't look up as he continued to kneel on the ground. I, Xia Wu and a few others from 6th Direction Training Hall were responsible for guarding the information. We're willing to accept any punishment, but please don't implicate my grandfather. He can't leave the decision-making team, or the family will be finished. I can die, but nothing can happen to my grandfather. Please, Lady Zijing, I beg you. Zijing asked Lu Yin, did you get to know each other from 6th Direction Training Hall? Lu Yin nodded, we're quite close. Zijing looked at Ku Jian. If I test it myself, it won't take up much time. Can I help her? Ku Jian replied, I can ask Lady He Ran for help. Suiyu was delighted. Thank you, Lady Zijing. Thank you, Lord Xianxia. Thank you, Lord Ku Jian. Lu Yin looked towards the beast arena. Release that one as well. Ku Jian casually waved his hand and crushed the bat beast into pieces. Its blood splattered across the arena and dyed Xia Wu's entire body red. Xia Wu fell to the ground and looked in Ku Jian's direction, only to see Lu Yin there. Lu Yin smiled at him and left. This place was detestable. Hurry up and thank Acting Academy Master Xianxia. Without him you would have died today, Ku Jian berated Xia Wu. As he watched Lu Yin leave, Xiaowu slowly knelt down and prostrated himself on the ground. Thank you. The cheers in the beast arena stopped, and many cursed in dissatisfaction, hoping that Xiaowu would continue fighting. However, when Ku Jian's white energy soared into the sky, no one dared to say anything else. Lu Yin walked out of the beast arena and took a deep breath. The air outside was much better. Mirror God Taishan, you've seen hyperspace. You can go back now, Lu Yin said. The two bid farewell to Ku Jian, who personally sent them back to the home of the gods. Zhou Xian chased after them from the beast arena and thanked Lu Yin once more. Lu Yin was curious as he had learned from Zijing that hyperspace had a thorough analysis of spacetime. The cultivators from the drifting cloud space had hidden themselves to save Lu Yun, but hyperspace had seen everything. How had the information been destroyed? A spy, Zhou Xian answered. Lu Yin understood. Every spacetime of the Hexagon Association had spies, and even hyperspace, who thought that it had a thorough analysis of its own spacetime, was no exception. With the everlasting race's methods, no matter how hard hyperspace searched, there would always be many spies. From Lu Yin's point of view, the cosmic tree space had far fewer spies than the Hexagon Association because the humble school was more efficient than the Heaven's Reflection Manor. Since it was done by a spy, it should have been handed over to the Heaven's Reflection Manor. Why should you bear the responsibility? Lu Yin asked. Zhou Xian answered, the council can't blame the Heaven's Reflection Manor, so they can only punish us. Grandpa was willing to leave the council so that I wouldn't be punished. What about Xiaowu? Isn't he one of He Shu's people? Why is he so pitiful? Lu Yin asked. Zhou Xian glanced at Lu Yin. Other than us, there's also He Shu guarding the information. Lu Yin's eyes flashed and he laughed. Xiaowu had taken all the blame for He Shu, so it was no wonder that he was in such a miserable state. However, he definitely hadn't done it willingly. No wonder he was so resentful. Chapter 26:30. Did you just say that the council can't blame the Heaven's Reflection Manor? Lu Yin suddenly asked. Zhou Xian replied, our spacetime is very special because we believe that we can analyze the entire spacetime and detect any external intrusion. Thus, we rely on cultivation techniques for both combat and investigation. The Heaven's Reflection Manor's master is the Yu family's head, Yu Feng. The Yu family directly delegated the task of searching for spies to all bearers of the Heaven's Reflection Manor and the monitoring system. This makes it so that even though the Heaven's Reflection Manor exists, it's practically non-existent. However, due to the monitoring system spread throughout spacetime, it's practically everywhere. Relying on the monitoring system, we've caught many corpse kings, which is worthy of the Heaven's Reflection Manor's name. However, spies are very difficult to catch because they're all our own people. No matter how powerful the monitoring system is, it's impossible to identify them. The Yu family is in charge of the Heaven's Reflection Manor? No wonder the council doesn't dare to blame them. Lu Yin finally understood. The Yu family was a behemoth in spacetime, and the Yu family's ancestor was the one who had developed the Heaven's Reflection Manor. This technique was one of the most powerful cultivation techniques in spacetime, and even now the Yu family was still the one who understood the technique the most. Even though they only had one seat in the council, they didn't need that seat since the council couldn't control them. Lu Yin had learned a long time ago that although the council seemed to be in charge of spacetime, it was actually just a tool to help determine who would win between He Ran and Bai Qian. Before He Ran and Bai Qian, the council had always been in charge of such matters, but they still had a lot of power on the surface. They wouldn't dare to blame the Yu family even if they had 10 times the courage. Since the Heaven's Reflection Manor's master was Yu Feng, it meant that he could use the black energy source, which meant that he was a progenitor. Such powerhouses were extremely rare in spacetime. Lu Yin hadn't expected the Heaven's Reflection Manor to be like this in spacetime, but what would it be like in the wood spacetime and reincarnation spacetime? Compared to spacetime, the Heaven's Reflection Manor in the Void God spacetime was much more normal. Ku Jian returned not long after. Lu Yin asked him to lead the way as he wanted to see He Ran. It was still the same staircase with blooming flowers that served as a foil for the most beautiful woman. He Ran looked down at Lu Yin from above. Lu Yin respectfully saluted her, Lady He Ran. He Ran smiled. Xianxia, I told you before that you don't need to bow when you see me. You're about the same age as my younger brother He Shu, so you can just call me Sister Ran. Zijing hurriedly stopped him. No, how can you do that? It's too offensive. He Ran replied, If I say it's okay then it's okay. Lu Yin smiled. Since that's the case I'll call you Sis Ran from now on. I've been wanting to call you that for a while now, but I was afraid that you'd be angry. How could that be? Having a younger brother like you I feel proud too. Ran smiled. Lu Yin raised his head and openly looked at Ran. The first time they had met his actions had angered Ran and she had forced him to kneel. Now when she met his gaze again Ran had a faint smile on her face. Her pure and beautiful face was imprinted in Lu Yin's eyes. Even though Lu Yin had seen many beauties before Ran still stunned him. The first time he had looked up he had seen a pair of perfect legs that were dazzlingly white. What had left the deepest impression on him had been her eyes that sparkled like stars. They were so beautiful and flawless that he had forgotten to look at her face. His entire mind had been filled with those eyes, and he had been at a loss when he had been scolded by her pleasant voice. Now when he looked at Ran's face that was hidden in the air, a phrase suddenly appeared in his mind. That face satisfies all human fantasies. Ran was a perfect woman. She was perfect in every way a woman should be. She was so perfect that it shouldn't exist. It was as if the word woman was created for her. If there was really a creator who created humans, perhaps she would be the creator's most perfect masterpiece. Bai Qian was beautiful, but her beauty was completely different from Ran's. One was a woman's beauty that could turn everything soft and gentle, while the other was a woman's beauty that could control everything. If the two of them were placed on a battlefield Ran would definitely not survive for more than a second, while Bai Qian might even be able to dominate the battlefield. However, if one were to compare her purely as a woman Bai Qian was far inferior to Ran. She was a woman, a perfect woman. She did not need to embellish or add anything. She was a woman and she was only a woman. Humans seemed complex and they could cultivate, develop technology, practice techniques, myths and civilizations. However, at the end of the day they could only be divided into two types: men and women. Regardless of whether it was business, cultivation, war or lies, they were all competitions between people. Ran was the embodiment of perfection in a woman. Lu Yin's reaction satisfied Ran. Very few people could look at her directly not only because of her status, but also because she hated the way people looked at her. What right did they have to look at her? She was a lowly piece of trash and she felt that looking at her was blasphemy. However, Lu Yin was different. He was extremely talented, had an extremely powerful master, and was in charge of the heavens reflection manor. His achievements and abilities were enough to make Ran look up to him, and this gaze gave him the right to raise his head. Look, if you look at me, any other woman will pale in comparison. Ran's lips curled up as she looked at Lu Yin. Her sparkling eyes were abnormally bright. You should be ashamed of yourself. Lu Yin lowered his head. Ran was even more satisfied. No one could look at her without bowing their head. She was the future ruler of ultra space-time. How could Bai Qian compete with her? Lu Yin did indeed lower his head, but it wasn't out of shame. Instead, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to resist taking this woman away. Such a beautiful woman made him think that if the above heaven sect had such a perfect image, how many people would want to join? Looking at such a woman every day was pleasing to the eye. Sister Ran, I'm here to ask for forgiveness, Lu Yin said. Ran didn't understand. Ask for forgiveness? Lu Yin explained, I personally interfered and released Zui Yu and Xia Wu so that they wouldn't be punished for having their data destroyed. Ku Jian stepped forward and respectfully said, My lord, this subordinate agreed without permission. Jing said, My lord, this subordinate is willing to redo the experiment and restore the data. Ran laughed, I thought it was something big. You don't have to tell me such a small matter, just let Ku Jian do it. Xianxia, you and Shu are both brothers in my heart. You don't have to be reserved in ultra space-time in the future. You can do whatever you want. Lu Yin smiled, Thank you, Sister Ran. He then asked, Is the two-colored soil and other resources enough? If not, I'll get more. Jing replied, If not, continue the trade. Get as much as you can. Right, I understand. Lu Yin took it upon himself to take care of everything. Ran smiled faintly, satisfied with Lu Yin's attitude. She could tell that this person was very excited. Being able to call her sister was something that many people begged for. Even if some of them were older than her, it didn't matter. Once they called her sister, they would be tainted with a trace of perfection. work hard, and these people would think of ways to obtain her approval and praise. Xianxia was no exception. Lu Yin didn't stay long at He Ran's place as it wasn't a good place to chat. Jian led him away. Even now Lu Yin still didn't know where He Ran's staircase was. Since Uncle Imo was there, he didn't use his domain to investigate, but he would find out one day. Sister Ran? Lu Yin looked back. Interesting, I'll make you call me seventh bro one day. Lu Yin originally wanted to head to the Void God Spacetime, but he received an invitation from Zhou Yu's family to be their guest. Zhou Yu's grandfather, Zhou Yu, is a very capable person. Their family isn't a big one, but Zhou Yu started out as an ordinary person and eventually joined the decision-making team. He's one of the few people who joined the decision-making team as a commoner, Jian told Lu Yin, implying that it was up to him to accept the invitation since Zhou Yu was just an ordinary person. There were nobles and commoners in the hyperspace dimension. Zhou Yu was a noble because her grandfather was a member of the decision-making team. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to become a noble. It would be impolite if I didn't go. Could Jian please take me to their house? Jian nodded and didn't say anything else as he led Lu Yin to Zhou Yu's family. Lu Yin didn't know how big the hyperspace dimension was, but he knew that there were teleportations everywhere in the hyperspace dimension. They had really analyzed their own spacetime thoroughly. There weren't that many teleportation devices in the Inception space, and only the Astral Combat Academy had some. Zhou Yu's residence wasn't big and only Zhou Yu and her grandfather welcomed Lu Yin. We're the only ones living in our residence. Her parents died on the battlefield and everyone else has been sent out. Please don't blame us, Mr. Xianxia, Zhou Yu said politely. Lu Yin replied, you're too polite. I'm very grateful for your invitation. Zhou Yu was solemn, I'm the one thanking you, Mr. Xianxia. If it weren't for you, I would have already left the decision-making team. It's not that I'm attached to the decision-making team, but that I've offended too many people. Once I leave, Zhou Yu and the others will be in dire straits. Thank you again, Mr. Xianxia. Zhou Yu bowed as well. Thank you, Mr. Xianxia. Lu Yin helped Zhou Yu up. I've known Zhou Yu for a while, so we're considered friends. Zhou Yu sighed. I'm afraid I won't be able to repay your kindness. I'm ashamed. Lu Yin smiled. It's nothing. If you're still so polite, I'll leave. I'm not used to it. You're right. Mr. Xianxia, please. Zhou Yu beamed as she looked at Lu Yin. Their first meeting felt like a dream. Who would have thought that the person who had been accepted as a follower by Mudo would have reached such heights? If she had known earlier, she would have blushed and hurriedly followed. Zhou Yu was a cheerful person who spoke without hesitation. He often lamented about injustice, and it would be strange if he didn't offend someone like that. Lu Yin had come to understand more about hyperspace through Zhou Yu. Zhou Gong explained a lot about hyperspace. Perhaps he was drunk, but he said a lot of things that were considered confidential. For example, on the surface, there were 30 white energy sources stored in hyperspace, but in fact there were 70 of them. These white energy sources were equivalent to the strength of a half-ancestor, which meant that hyperspace could create 70 half-ancestor powerhouses in the shortest amount of time. This number shocked Lu Yin. Thank you for your support, brothers, thank you so much. Chapter 26:31. How many half-ancestors were there in Heaven's Path? Even the Cosmic Tree sect might not reach this number, and the three monarchs might not even have 20 half-ancestors. Even the Void God Spacetime and the Wood Spacetime might not have this number. Although the white energy source's power should not be a match for a normal half-ancestor, this number was still terrifying. And this is just the white energy source. Do you know how many black energy sources we have? Zhou Gong was so drunk that he couldn't even speak properly. Zhou Yu hurriedly supported him. Grandfather, you're drunk. Go back and rest. Zhou Yu smiled. Grandpa isn't drunk. Zhou Yu smiled apologetically at Lu Yin. Lu Yin looked at Zhou Yu curiously. How many? He did not care if the old man was drunk or not. Everyone was well aware of that. 10, Zhou Yu said. Lu Yin's expression changed. 10 black energy sources represented 10 powers that could rival a progenitor. However, on the surface, Zhou Yu only had 5, and Zhou Yu had hidden half of them. The power of 10 progenitors surpassed the number of powerhouses in the Void God spacetime. Even if Su Heng and Su Lung broke through to the Void Realm at the same time, the Void God spacetime still did not have 10. This was the power of Zhou Yu. Lu Yin was shocked by Zhou Yu's hidden strength, but Zhou Yu's explanation was simple. Zhu's explanation was simple. Zhu was the best at finding parallel space-time, and once he found a suitable one he would analyze the energy and create an energy source. After countless years, Zhu had used up a lot of black energy sources, but there were still quite a few left. There were even more white energy sources, and there were even more energy sources below that. When the 6-direction training grounds were established, the 3 monarch spacetime seemed to be the most active, but in reality, Zhu is the same. We have many energy sources but not many people can use them. As a result, a lot of energy can't be used and can only be used for research. Grandpa, you're really drunk. Zhu was worried. Zhu had said so much so there shouldn't be any problems, right? Lu Yin did not continue on this topic as he already knew enough. This was Zhu's way of thanking Zhu for saving his life, and asking any more questions would be insatiable. They chatted casually for the rest of the time and Zhu was sober. Lu Yin stayed at Zhu's residence for a day before leaving. As for the matter of the Heaven's Reflection Manor, the public servant also spoke quite a bit about it. The Heaven's Mirror Prefecture's prefecture master was Yu Feng, not because the Yu family had fought for it. Instead it was because the decision-making team wanted to divide the Yu family's power. Rather than saying that it was the decision-making team, it was more accurate to say that it was the real ruler of Transdimensional. That ruler was the source of the competition between He Ran and Bai Qian. He was the person who had established the decision-making team and was also the person at the helm of Transdimensional. The hegemon was the creator of the energy source cultivation technique. Hyperspace was supported by 2 major cultivation techniques. One was the energy source and the other was the art of bestowment. The art of bestowment was the Yu clan, and the energy source was the sovereign. Lu Yin never mentioned that ruler to anyone, as he had long since learned of the ruler's existence from Bai Qian. He raised his head and stared at the starry skies. When would that sovereign appear? Outside the manor, a figure was standing in a corner. When Lu Yin walked out, the figure hurriedly appeared and knelt in front of him, kowtowing heavily. Thank you. This person was Xiawu. Lu Yin looked at Xiawu kneeling in front of him. It was just convenient. Xiawu kowtowed again. Thank you. He kowtowed one after another, causing the ground to resound with a heavy thud. His words of thanks grew heavier and heavier. If I were you, I would return to He Shu's side. At least that would be a guarantee. Lu Yin looked deeply at Xiawu and then left. Xiawu knelt for a long time before getting up, his eyes filled with a bone-deep hatred for He Shu. Lu Yin tore through the void and left hyperspace, but he didn't return to the void god's spacetime. Instead he went to the Eternal Kingdom where he returned to the 5th mainland and returned to Earth. The sea breeze blew past and seagulls flew under the blue sky, their cries relaxing. A beautiful figure lay calmly under a large parasol drinking fruit juice. There was no one around. This was actually a deserted island. Lu Yin walked over. How long have you been here? The figure looked up and took off her sunglasses, revealing a beautiful face. It was Bai Qian. Just arrived. How long has it been since you last came back? Lu Yin asked with a smile. He lay down on the other side and took a sip of his fruit juice. Many years, Bai Qian replied. Lu Yin looked at the sea and stretched comfortably. You're not someone who misses home, but it must feel different to be back. Bai Qian put down her fruit juice. That's all. How's the situation? Not good, I'm considered eliminated. Iran is very happy. Eliminated, the only way to turn defeat into victory is to cheat. That's why I've been helping you cheat. You're helping yourself. But I'm not confident about that mysterious ruler. I met the Void Master in the Void God's spacetime, and he's someone who interacted with Wu Tian. The ruler of hyperspace shouldn't be too far off. Bai Qian looked at Lu Yin, scared. Lu Yin smiled. I'm also the Dao Master of a sect in the primordial space. What's there to be afraid of? I just can't make a mistake, or the entire 6-Direction Society will attack me. Bai Qian replied, as long as you control the decision-making team, you can beat He Ran. Lu Yin laughed. Are you really that naive? That ruler's decisions can't be completely controlled by the decision-making team. That's why there's one thing that's very important. Bai Qian looked at Lu Yin seriously. I need you to blaspheme He Ran. Lu Yin was stunned. What did you say? Bai Qian repeated. I can do everything else, but this is the only thing that's very troublesome. Only you can do it. Help me blaspheme He Ran. She then looked at the surface of the sea. That ruler is obsessed with cleanliness just like this calm sea. If a foreign object appears on the surface of the sea, it will be destroyed without hesitation. He ran is the sea in that person's heart, and I'm just a small river. That's why I never had any hope of winning, and that's why those people only care about he ran. But if he ran is blasphemed, then it's the same as a foreign object appearing on the sea. It's not something that that person can tolerate. Lu Yin pursed his lips. Then you haven't considered my feelings? Bai Qian was astonished as this expression almost never appeared on her face. Isn't that what you want? He ran is a perfect woman. Lu Yin looked away. He had to admit that this woman was perfect, so perfect that he wanted to capture her and place her in the above heaven sect as a mascot. But how could he blaspheme her? Don't tell me you don't know how to do it. Bai Qian felt strange. Lu Yin replied, of course. Tell me. There's no need. I'll teach you. Lu Yin was speechless. Are you sure? Bai Qian met Lu Yin's gaze, her gaze calm. As long as you wish. Lu Yin looked at Bai Qian's calm gaze and suddenly raised a hand to pull her head closer to him. At this moment the two were so close that they could feel each other's breathing. Bai Qian's gaze remained calm without any ripples, and even her breathing did not change. For a full 3 minutes the two maintained this posture, neither of them moving. Finally Lu Yin released his hand. I remember what Bai Shui said when she mentioned you. She said that you had a face that could make the rainbow pale in comparison, a military strategist like Zhuge Liang, the heart of an empress, and a genius in the way of the sword. He paused. However, you abandoned her and Earth. I didn't care at the time, but now it seems like you're just as she said. In your eyes there's only your goal and nothing else. Bai Qian put on her sunglasses. Disappointed? Lu Yin smiled. No, I'm just relieved. But I'm worried about you. Bai Qian stood up, her long hair cascading down her back as she gave off a delicate fragrance. If we work together we can obtain everything we want from hyperspace, but we can't change that person's mind. Blaspheming he ran is necessary, and only you can do that. Train hard and it'll be nice to have a relationship when you have time. Lu Yin shook his head as he had actually been underestimated. This woman was too calm, like a block of ice. Even in the face of death she would not react much. Such people were the most terrifying. Have a relationship? He rubbed his cosmic ring, wondering when he would be able to save Yen. Lu Yin did not stay on Earth for long and returned to the Void God's spacetime, returning to the Red Domain. He returned to the Red Domain to capture spies, and he also asked Su Yu to introduce him to Yu Lele. Why are you looking for Lele? Su Yu stared at Lu Yin, her eyes filled with caution. Lu Yin sat down. I'm not looking for Yu Lele. I want to talk to the Yu family through her. Su Yu was suspicious. She's a very innocent girl. Don't lie to her. Lu Yin raised a brow. Do I look like someone who would lie to her? What else? Su Yu sized Lu Yin up again. The methods that Lu Yin had used to capture Yi Jun and Qingfen were all lies, and in Su Yu's heart he was basically a swindler. Although Lu Yin had forcefully resisted the pressure of Reverend Lotus' disciple and changed her opinion of him, she would still call him a swindler for the rest of his life. All right, hurry up and contact her, Lu Yin said impatiently. Su Yu snorted and went to contact Yu Lele. Soon after she said, Lele should be researching something. Just wait, it'll take a long time. What could she be researching? Lu Yin thought that Su Yu was lying to him. Su Ji's voice rang out. Lele is publicly acknowledged as a genius, and no one in the entire spacetime would dare to claim that they can surpass her in the art of bestowment. The Yu family has never had a female heir since ancient times, but Lele made history and forced the Yu family to make her the heir. She's that powerful? Lu Yin had only wanted to contact the Yu family, and he recalled what he had seen at the pavilion in the Reincarnation Dao Academy. Su Yu and Yu Lele had an extremely good relationship, and he had wanted to use her to contact the Yu family. He had not expected Yu Lele to be so powerful. Su Ji said, Lele is very smart, and even He Shu has to admit that. If you really want to trick her, then you should give up. Lu Yin rolled his eyes. I just want to talk to the Yu family. They control the heaven's reflection manner, so perhaps we can work together across realms. Chapter 2632. Cross Realms. Su Ji and Su Yu did not understand. Lu Yin solemnly said, Spies are the greatest threat to the entire human race. We've already gotten rid of many spies in the Void God spacetime, but it's hard for us to make any breakthroughs. Why don't we think of a way to help other parallel spacetimes get rid of spies? Suji's eyes lit up. Contact Lele as soon as possible. Suyu nodded and glanced at Lu Yin suspiciously. Is this for real? Regardless of whether Lu Yin was telling the truth or not, it would be a good thing for Suji if he could search for spies in the hyperspace. Spies brought too much harm to the human race. However, contacting Lele was not that simple. Suyu kept trying, but they were separated by parallel spacetimes. She needed someone to send a message to the hyperspace before she could contact Lele. Lele was still immersed in his cultivation or something else, so it was not that easy to contact him. Lu Yin waited for several days, but Lele did not contact him. Instead, Zhou Xian contacted him. The two had not met since Zhou Xian had returned to the Hexagon training grounds. However, Zhou Xian was especially concerned about news of Lu Yin, especially when Su Lai and the others from the Void God spacetime had entered the Hexagon training grounds and brought news of Lu Yin. This made Zhou Xian want to meet Lu Yin even more, but he had to wait for the results of the trial in the origin space. 99th? Lu Yin blinked. There's an order? Zhou Xian came to Heaven's Mirror Manor to meet Lu Yin and brought him the results of the trial. Lu Yin had officially obtained a seat in the Grand Empyrean Tea Party and was ranked 99th. Of course there's an order. Otherwise, how can the seats of the Grand Empyrean Tea Party be so random? What if you randomly sit in front of an extremely powerful senior? It's easy to offend them, Zhou Xian explained. Lu Yin smiled. I see. He then thought of the Yuan Sage. Back then, the Yuan Sage had asked him to fight to the death at the Grand Empyrean Tea Party. Perhaps he could have obtained a seat, but if that was the case, then he would have one seat in Xianxia, which meant that he would have 2 seats. What should he do? Regardless of how the Grand Empyreans would react, everyone else would probably hate him. With your cultivation and fame during the trial, it's already a blessing for you to obtain a seat. Why do you care about the order? Zhou Xian. Lu Yin replied, Of course I don't care about the order. I'm just curious. Zhou Xian looked at the ruined city outside the clock tower. I didn't think that after we parted at the Su Pass, you would actually join the Heaven's Reflection Manor. When Yun told me, I couldn't believe it, but fortunately you did well. Lu Yin replied, This junior has offended a disciple of Venerable Lotus. Zhou Xian waved his hand. We wouldn't dare offend a disciple of Venerable Lotus, but to you being a disciple of Venerable Lotus isn't a big deal. You are Senior Su Wui's subordinate, and you also have Senior Su Wuji, Senior Su Heng and Senior Su Leng. Zhou Xian's expression became somewhat strange. You have 4 virtual Tai realm experts standing behind you. Even if Venerable Lotus personally came, he wouldn't be able to do anything to you. But Xianxia, if you meet the disciples of the Lotus Sage in the outer world, you have to be careful. You have to be respectful. No matter what grudges you have with the disciples of the Lotus Sage, it's best if you can resolve them. After all, you will definitely go to the boundless battlefield in the future. The disciples of the Lotus Sage have a great influence there. Lu Yin nodded. This junior understands. I don't wish to offend a disciple of Venerable Lotus. Zhou Xian had come mainly to tell Lu Yin about the Grand Empyrean Tea Party. To them, this was the most important matter, but Lu Yin had already forgotten about it. Wait, what else had he forgotten? Boing. He suddenly thought of something but then forgot about it. It had to be very important. What had happened recently? He thought about it for a long time and finally remembered that he had forgotten to ask Bai Qian for Starsabil's invitation. He sighed as he had missed such a good opportunity on Earth. He would have to wait until the next time they met. 3 days after Zhou Xian left, Suyu successfully contacted Lele. Do you want to talk to Lele personally, or do you want to find a middleman? I'll talk to her personally, Lu Yin replied. I guessed it. Suyu calculated the time. Let's do it tomorrow. The person who's closest to here will arrive tomorrow. You can go to the hyperspace with him. Once you're there, use this cloud connection stone to contact Lele. He accepted the stone. Thank you, little you. Suyu blushed. Who told you to call me little you? She then quickly left. Suji had been nearby, and when he saw this scene he glanced at Lu Yin. You two are not suitable. Lu Yin was speechless. The next day, a person from a hyperspace arrived and brought Lu Yin to the hyperspace with an energy tear. After arriving, Lu Yin tried to contact Lele with the cloud connection stone. Not long after, Lele's unkempt appearance appeared on the screen. His hair was messy and it looked like he hadn't been washed for dozens of days. His eyes were unfocused and his pupils were white. No matter how one looked at it, he looked like he was about to die. Lu Yin was stunned. "Hello, I'm Xianxia." Eulele found a spectacle frame but there were no lenses. He adjusted it. "Oh, it's you. Little you said that you were looking for me. What's the matter?" "I want to talk to your father." Eulele scratched his hair, causing white bits to fall down. Lu Yin raised his brows. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. "You want to talk to my father? Why are you looking for me?" "I can't contact him directly," Lu Yin said. Eulele scratched her hair again and yawned. "Wait, I'll wash my face and talk to you." She then ended the call. Lu Yin looked at the cloud connection stone. Was this woman really the smartest genius? It wasn't impossible. The more talented they were, the stranger they were. Just because no one could understand their worldview didn't mean that it was wrong. Not long after, the cloud connection stone's screen opened and Eulele appeared. She was much more spirited this time, and her eyes weren't as white as before. "Xianxia, are you there?" "I'm here." Lu Yin looked at the screen. Eulele asked seriously, "What identity will you use to meet my father? Will you be Xianxia or the master of the Heaven's Reflection Hall?" "Is there a difference?" Lu Yin asked. Eulele answered, "The difference is whether or not I'll keep your identity a secret." Lu Yin's eyes flashed. "Heaven's Reflection Hall Master." Eulele nodded. "All right, I'll keep your identity a secret." She then took out another cloud connection stone. "Wait, what if I meet your father in my own capacity?" Lu Yin asked. Eulele answered, "You have a good relationship with Hiran, so if you meet my father as yourself, I'll make this matter public. You can think about the results yourself." Lu Yin stared at Eulele. This woman was interesting. Another screen opened and a stern-looking middle-aged man appeared. His hair was completely white and he had an aura that didn't match his appearance. "Father, this person is looking for you." Eulele pointed at the screen. The middle-aged man looked over and met Lu Yin's gaze. "Xianxia." Junior Xianxia greets Senior Yufeng. Lu Yin smiled. The middle-aged man was the head of the Yu family, Yufeng, and also the master of the Heaven's Reflection Hall. He was in charge of a colossus like the Yu family, and even Hiran had to be wary of him. "What identity will you use to meet me?" Lu Yin was amused. This father and daughter were really close and they even asked the same questions. "Father, I've already asked this question," Amusement said. Yufeng grunted and looked at Lu Yin. "What is it?" Lu Yin was solemn. "I'm sure you've heard about what happened to this junior in the Void God space. May I know if I have the opportunity to go there?" "To catch spies?" Yufeng asked. Lu Yin replied, "I'll try. Spies are the greatest threat to humanity. Not long ago, I heard that some data in the Heaven's Reflection Hall was destroyed. This sort of thing should happen quite often in the Heaven's Reflection Hall. Although it won't cause too much damage, it could still cause a delay. Possible this junior would like to help." "Have you caught all the spies in the Void God space?" Yufeng asked. Lu Yin replied, "Of course not. Why do you want to come to the Heaven's Reflection Hall to catch spies? Are you looking down on our efficiency? More or less?" Eulele looked up at Lu Yin. "You're so honest." Lu Yin smiled. "It's just the truth. If the Yu family had tried their best to catch spies, things wouldn't have ended up like this. Since the Yu family isn't willing to do it, this junior is more than willing to do it for you." Yufeng said, "It seems like you know quite a bit about the Heaven's Reflection Hall. You must have learned about it through our staff." "I can't hide anything from you, Senior." Yufeng sneered. "If you enter the Heaven's Reflection Hall, then you won't be able to hide anything from me." Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. This junior doesn't need to monitor the Heaven's Reflection Hall. "I don't need anything from the Heaven's Reflection Hall. I just need the Yu family's support." Yufeng was confused. "Then what are you after?" Eulele stared into Lu Yin's eyes. "Don't find excuses. A suitable reason can indeed lower our guard, but if it's too suitable then it won't be suitable." Lu Yin looked at Yufeng and then at Eulele. "Catch spies." Yufeng and Eulele snickered, clearly not believing him. Lu Yin continued, "I don't care if you believe me or not, but I'm planning to catch spies. In any case, the Heaven's Reflection Hall has analyzed the Heaven's Reflection Hall, so I won't be able to escape your control once I enter. What are you worried about?" Yu Fang snorted. I'm worried that you're colluding with that woman. He ran to destroy the Yu family. I'm worried that you'll use the Heaven's Reflection Hall's name to do something to the Yu family. There are many things that I'm worried about. Xianxia, you have such a good relationship with He Ran, so what do you think I'm worried about? Lu Yin sighed. Everyone says that the Yu family is smart, but you're too smart. You're always looking ahead, but you can't see further than that. If I'm really working with He Ran to do something to you, then you should welcome me into the Heaven's Reflection Hall. Only by making a move can you counter it. If I don't do anything, then are you going to keep on your guard? That's why I'm willing to let you come. The Yu family will officially send an invitation to Xianxia from the Heaven's Reflection Hall. We're inviting you to come to the Heaven's Reflection Hall and capture spies in the Heaven's Reflection Hall. I want to see what you're planning to do, Yu Fang said. Eulele smiled with interest. It's too boring to keep researching cultivation techniques. I hope that you're planning something, or else my father's efforts will go to waste. Chapter 26:33. Just an invitation is enough? What about the decision-making team? Lu Yin asked. Yu Fang replied, the Heaven's Reflection Manor doesn't need the approval of the decision-making team. The Six Directions Guild is actually one entity, so even if we didn't invite you, you still have the right to come and help us investigate the spies. There's no need to say so much to me, it's all nonsense. Lu Yin frowned. There was such a thing? He had been too careless, no wonder Yu Fang had agreed. It was as if he had been provoked, but he couldn't refuse from the start. He had only said so much to test Lu Yin. The father and daughter had tacitly tested each other at the same time. Lu Yin felt a headache coming on. These two were difficult to deal with. Right, let Lele follow you. She's too innocent and needs to experience the darkness of human nature, Yu Fang suddenly said. Eulele was shocked. Father, what are you saying? Follow who? Follow Xianxia, of course. He's even tricked spies. There's no one more sinister than him, Yu Fang said naturally. Lu Yin was displeased. Senior, I'm doing this for the sake of humanity. You're going overboard. I'm not going, I want to study cultivation techniques, Eulele objected. Yu Fang tried to tempt her. This Xianxia is definitely plotting something. Find out if you can. You can relax a little while studying cultivation techniques. Eulele was moved. Lu Yin ended the call. This father and daughter were too arrogant. Were they arrogant or conceited? Even He Ran couldn't casually provoke them. The Yu family had created the bestowment technique, and their attitude was proof of their foundation. They had the confidence to disregard everything. Lu Yin suddenly developed a strong interest in the Yu family. He couldn't stay in the hyperspace for too long as he would be easily monitored. Lu Yin returned to the void god spacetime, and when he returned to the red domain he suddenly thought of something. Where's the crazy old man? He hadn't seen the old man this time, so he immediately tried to contact him, but Yun Tongsher couldn't be reached. Lu Yin looked for the housekeeper and the others, but they couldn't contact the crazy old man either. No one knew where he had gone. The housekeeper thought of Gui San, who was usually on good terms with the crazy old man in the Heaven's Reflection Manor. Gui San came to Lu Yin not knowing what to say. Lu Yin frowned. You know where the crazy old man went? Master. He said that if he doesn't return in 10 days I'll tell you. I'll tell you now, Lu Yin said. In order to bring Qingfen back, the crazy old man had exposed his void transformation realm cultivation. This was something that Guan Laoda and the others had not known about, and the crazy old man had also said that he would be easily captured if he was exposed. Lu Yin had promised to protect him and he did not want to go back on his word. He had also been curious as to who had been able to capture the crazy old man and scare him into hiding his cultivation. Now it seemed like something had really happened. Gui San took Lu Yin to find the crazy old man, and Lu Yin hoped that nothing would happen to him. Normally, a void transformation realm cultivator wouldn't get into trouble so easily, and the crazy old man was currently a member of the Heaven's Mirror Manor. Although the Heaven's Mirror Manor had a bad reputation, it wasn't something that just anyone could deal with. Lu Yin asked, looking at Gui San. Just now I saw his descendants, but Master Hua wasn't there. Who would want to capture him? Lu Yin asked. Gui San had a bitter expression on his face. Acting Palace Master, I really don't know. Lord Crazy didn't say anything. He just often laments about life and talks about dying at any moment. I've asked him a few times but he never said anything. Lu Yin frowned. Does he have a grudge with a virtual realm powerhouse? Gui San was shocked. Virtual realm? Did a virtual realm powerhouse act against him? I'm asking you. I don't know. In fact, there are only a few virtual tie layer cultivators in the virtual god universe. If the person who captured Master Crazy is really a virtual tie layer cultivator, you might as well ask the Mansion Master. Maybe the Mansion Master knows that Master Crazy was recruited by the Mansion Master. Lu Yin immediately contacted Su Wuji. A while later, Su Wuji arrived with a gloomy expression. Gui San, go back first. Gui San knew that he couldn't listen to what was about to happen, and he didn't want to hear it either. He hurriedly left. Self-preservation was the most important thing. After Gui San left, Su Wuji sighed. He was still captured. What happened? Which virtual realm powerhouse captured Master Maniac? Do they have a grudge? Lu Yin asked. He knew most of the virtual realm powerhouses in the Void God universe, and he had even met the Void Master before. He didn't think that any virtual realm powerhouse would act against Master Maniac. Su Wuji replied, he's not an enemy, but there are some rules that cannot be broken. He broke them and so did I. It's troublesome. Master, I told him to reveal his cultivation and said that I would protect him. Please tell me what exactly happened, Lu Yin said in a low voice. Su Wuji took out some drinks and handed one to Lu Yin, who accepted it. You should have heard of the new inn, Su Wuji said. Lu Yin was surprised. The one at the front lines? Su Wuji nodded. Master Maniac escaped from the new inn, and the one who captured him was the owner of the new inn. Revenge. Lu Yin understood, so that was the case. The new inn was located at the front lines of the war between the Void God universe and the Eternals. As its name suggested, it was an inn that could accommodate anyone as long as they hadn't betrayed humanity. Once they entered, their past grievances would be cleared, and no one from the Void God universe could enter to seek revenge. Otherwise, they would have to face the owner's revenge. Zhou Xian was in the virtual realm, and even though he wasn't as powerful as Su Wei, he was still in the virtual realm, and not just anyone could provoke him. Entering the inn was equivalent to being protected by Zhou Xian, but the price was that you would never be able to leave the inn and would have to live with the inn. If the inn lived, the people would live. If the inn died, the people would die. The new inn was at the front lines of the war between the Void God universe and the Eternals. It was attacked by the Eternals every day and could be destroyed at any time. This was one of the reasons why countless people no longer sought revenge and entered the inn. It would eventually be destroyed. The existence of the new inn was to allow those who entered to fight to the death for the sake of humanity. If the crazy old man had entered the new inn, he shouldn't have left, but since he had escaped, the new inn naturally wouldn't let him go. Zhou had personally come to capture him, and the virtual realm power that had been left behind here was Zhou's. The crazy old man broke the rules by escaping from the new inn, and I also broke the rules by taking him in even though I knew that he had escaped. Now that he's been taken away by Zhou, it's impossible to bring him out. He won't have a good ending either, Void said. Why did the crazy old man escape? Who was it that forced him to enter the new inn back then? And why did you take him in even though you knew that it would break the rules? Void drank his drink. I don't know the first two questions, so I didn't ask them. As for the third question, he put down his drink and continued. The crazy old man's nose is very sharp, and only someone like him is suitable to stay in the Heaven's Reflection Manor. That's why I invited him to join us when I first saw him. I only found out that he had escaped from the new inn after he joined the Heaven's Reflection Manor. I was the one who invited him, so if I sent him back to the new inn or told Zhou that he was here and allowed him to be taken away by Zhou, wouldn't that be embarrassing? What would outsiders think of me, Void? That I'm afraid of Zhou? What a joke. Lu Yin pursed his lips. So even you don't know much about the crazy old man? If Zhou was willing to take him in, then that means that my Heaven's Reflection Manor can take him in as well. Since that's the case, it has nothing to do with me. It's fine as long as he can catch spies. Lu Yin looked into the distance. Then what do we do now? He's already been taken away by Zhou. What else can we do? Don't tell me that you want to take him out of the new inn. That would be tantamount to falling out with Zhou. He's still a virtual realm expert. Lu Yin said, Manor Lord, the Heaven's Reflection Manor has caught so many spies that their name has spread throughout the Six Directions Society. Do you know how famous the crazy old man is aside from me? When I went to the hyperspace dimension, someone mentioned that the crazy old man's nose was the reason I was able to catch so many spies. That's the truth. Too many people in the Six Directions Society know that the crazy old man belongs to the Heaven's Reflection Manor in the Void God Spacetime and is under your command. But now he's been captured by the new Inn. Void G's expression turned ugly, as this was too humiliating. Chou had snatched one of his people, and if he didn't do anything about it, Void G wouldn't be able to take it. The only reason he had kept the crazy old man alive was because he was worried that outsiders would say that he was afraid of Chou. Now that Chou had captured the crazy old man, it was equivalent to slapping Void G in the face. Others didn't care about the reason or the rules. They only knew that someone from the Heaven's Reflection Manor had been captured by the new Inn. As the Manor Lord, it would be too humiliating if he didn't do anything about it. Manor Lord, no matter what, should we go to the new Inn and take a look? Lu Yin asked. Go. Su Wuji then led Lu Yin to the new inn. The crazy old man had broken the rules of the new tavern, but Lu Yin didn't insist on bringing him back. Rules were rules after all. The crazy old man had voluntarily entered the new tavern to avoid revenge, but he had gone back on his word in the end. No one would be able to accept that. Most importantly, Lu Yin had promised the crazy old man that he would protect him. Regardless of whether or not Lu Yin could protect him in the end, he had to at least try. However, they were in the wrong this time. Lu Yin had seen the rainbow wall of the Three Monarchs spacetime and the continent that was swept up by the reincarnation spacetime. Now he saw the front line of the virtual god spacetime. It was a vortex that seemed to have been magnified countless times and enveloped the entire virtual god spacetime. Xiaoqin stared blankly. Initially he thought that the rainbow wall and the continent that it swept up were shocking enough. Now he discovered that the faux god spacetime border was not bad either. The faux god energy whirlpool that surrounded the entire spacetime was boundless. This is your first time seeing it, right? Void Extremity sighed. This is the border of the void god spacetime. People who see it for the first time won't be able to understand how Void Master did it. That's right. How did you do it? Lu Yin asked. Void was extremely solemn. I don't know. Void Master's power isn't something we can pry into. Chapter 2634. Lu Yin suddenly realized the biggest weakness of the Six Directions Association's parallel spacetime cultivation. Whether it was the Void God spacetime, the Wood spacetime, or the Three Sovereigns spacetime, everyone cultivated the power of a ruler. No matter how high their cultivation was, they would never be able to surpass the threshold of a ruler. If the Void Master died, what would happen to the Void God spacetime? Although Senior Su Wei controlled space and was ancient and powerful, he would never be able to surpass the Void Master. This was because the power that he cultivated came from the Void Master. The Fifth Mainland was different. Although the primogenitor's astral sources were spread throughout space-time, not everyone cultivated them. The Grim Reaper, Fate, and others had created their own powers. Neither progenitor Qin nor the symbol progenitor had completely cultivated the primogenitor's power. Perhaps this was why the Above Heaven sect was so brilliant. The opposite was the reincarnation spacetime. Under Su Wuji's guidance, the two easily entered the Void God Vortex. In the distance, the battlefield was still in full swing. This vortex strengthened the cultivators of the Void God spacetime while weakening the Corpse Kings. Although it looked like a vortex, it only blocked the Corpse Kings. For those who cultivated the Void God spacetime, it was a cultivation holy land. They could use the vortex's characteristics to move quickly, but the Corpse Kings could not. Pairs of scarlet eyes looked over from different directions to reinforce the battlefield. Su Wuji directly attacked and easily erased the scarlet eyes. Lu Yin also attacked, his bone spear piercing through a large group of Corpse Kings and causing blood to spray out of the vortex. We can't kill them all. Let's go. Su Wuji led Lu Yin forward, traversing an unknown distance. When Lu Yin finally stopped, he saw a huge stone city with 3 words written on it. New Inn. Su Wuji and Xianxia visit the New Inn. Su Wuji shouted. With a bang, a Corpse King appeared out of nowhere and crashed into the stone city wall, turning into a pool of blood. Lu Yin's eyes flashed. This New Inn really did exist at the front lines. Everyone thought that it would be destroyed sooner or later. The stone city gates opened and 2 large men gestured for them to enter. Lu Yin looked at the 2 big men. They were at least 3 meters tall and they were neither giants nor normal humans. They were just a little taller and their cultivations were at the peak of the Void Realm, which meant that they were at the peak of the Emissary Realm. They were only one step away from the Half-Progenitor Realm. Most of the people who came to the New Inn were trying to avoid being hunted down by their enemies in the spacetime. These people were able to escape from the spacetime to the New Inn, which meant that they were not easy to deal with. There was no one with low cultivation here. On the way here, Su Wuji had said that even though there was only one virtual Tai Realm expert, Qiu, there were at least 5 virtual transformation realm experts, which was a terrifying number. Before the crazy old man was exposed, there was not a single virtual transformation realm expert in the Heaven's Mirror Manor. Outsiders thought it was normal. It was obvious that virtual transformation realm experts were not common, but this New Inn had so many of them. Bang! With another loud bang, another corpse king crashed into the wall and died. This New Inn's stone city shouldn't have been this color, but after so many years, it had been dyed a dark red, almost black. It was unknown how many corpse kings' blood had dyed it. This was not Su Wuji's first time here. Aside from helping people hide from their enemies, this is also an inn in the outside world. Everything from eating to resting can be done here. It's like an inn on a battlefield, but there's a price to pay. Lu Yin replied, "Of course there's a price. Otherwise this place would have been destroyed a long time ago." Su Wuji led Lu Yin into the New Inn. From the outside it looked like a giant stone city, but from the inside it looked like an inn. Tables were arranged in rows and waiters shuttled back and forth. It was very lively. There were more than 1,000 tables and most of them were full. The waiters shuttling back and forth to serve food and wine were all at the Void Realm. This was a scene that would never be seen in the outside world. These people all had hidden pasts, and since the New Inn had accommodated them, they had to adapt to its rules. This place was basically giving these people a chance to extend their lives, but they would eventually die. "What would the two of you like to eat?" a waiter asked enthusiastically as he wiped down a table for the two. Su Wuji and Lu Yin sat on either side of the table, and Lu Yin looked around curiously. The outside world was the battlefield of the life and death grinders, and once one left, it was hard to predict whether they would survive or not. However, this place was not oppressive at all. In fact, it was very lively. The waiters and managers were all smiling and they all looked very cheerful. "Give me some of your specialties," Su Wuji said. At that moment, a rather mature woman walked over. She was dressed in heavy makeup and patted the back of the waiter's head. "You're blind. These are the Heaven's Reflection Manor's manor head and acting manor head. Go away, I'll do it." The waiter smiled. "All right." He then turned around and walked over to another table. "What else would you like to order?" "I'll be right there." The woman pressed her hands on the table and smiled charmingly at Su Wuji before looking at Lu Yin. "Why have the two lords from the Heaven's Reflection Manor come here? Do you need our help with something?" Su Wuji looked at the woman. "Bring me Cho. The boss is very busy. If you have any orders, please feel free to tell me. If I can help, I'll definitely do it." The woman smiled. Although she was dressed in heavy makeup, she did not look disagreeable. Lu Yin smiled. "You're the boss's wife?" The woman gasped and covered her mouth. "Acting manor head, don't say such things. If the boss hears you," she giggled. "Haha, I'll be embarrassed." "It'll happen sooner or later," Lu Yin smiled. The woman giggled. "Acting manor head, you really know how to talk. No wonder so many people like you. However, the boss is indeed very busy today. How about we come back another day?" Su Wuji sneered and slammed his hand on the table, causing ripples to spread out and shake the entire inn. Instantly, the woman's eyes turned cold, and her killing intent soared to the heavens as she stared at Ji Wuji. She wasn't the only one. Everyone in the tavern looked over with bone-chilling coldness. They were not afraid of Ji Wuji's power. These people had been able to escape all the way to the New Inn, and they had all experienced life and death situations. They had lived on the front lines of the battlefield and were not afraid of death. If someone wanted to die, even if it was Su Wuji, they would still dare to bare their teeth. Many of the people who had come to the New Inn to eat were here for the first time, and they had never seen these people in such a state before. Many of them were shocked. The New Inn was completely silent. "See, this is the New Inn," Su Wuji said calmly. A sharp triangular weapon had appeared in the woman's hand at some point, and she stared at Su Wuji. "Rest, manor head. We welcome you. If you want to cause trouble, you'll have to step over all of our corpses." The enthusiastic waiter from before seemed to have become a completely different person. There was a faint stench of blood around him, and there was a bone-deep killing intent in his eyes. There were at least 100 gazes all around them, and there were quite a few Void Transformation Realm powerhouses among them. Even Lu Yin felt pressured. Su Wuji, our grudges have already been settled. What, do you still want to cause trouble? A voice sounded out from the corner. It was an old man who was pouring tea for a guest. He was a Void Transformation Realm cultivator and looked sinister and terrifying. Su Wuji coldly replied, "This has nothing to do with you. Get lost." "Brother Wuji, the new inn is filled with pitiful people. Why do you have to be like this?" Someone else spoke up. This person was also a Void Transformation Realm cultivator, and his voice was cultured and refined. It was someone who sounded like an accountant from the second floor. Su Wuji looked up. "Why are you pretending to be a good person? That's not what you said when you destroyed the human race." He then looked around. "There are no good people in the new inn. No matter why you fled here, the outside world will not tolerate you, so you should stay here and fight to the death for the human race. Cut the crap." "Ha, what arrogance," someone else spoke up, and this one was a Void Transformation Realm cultivator. Lu Yin felt numb. There were too many Void Transformation Realm cultivators here, and each one was more powerful than the last. This person didn't even care about Su Wuji. Boom, 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 thud. Footsteps sounded out, and everyone looked towards the corner where a man was walking down. His face was green and he looked quite strange. His eyes were as calm as still water, and the most eye-catching thing about him was his broken leg, which was replaced by a piece of wood. Every step he took caused the wood to clatter loudly against the ground. He was Zhou Xian, the owner of the new inn. At this moment no one spoke. They all watched as Zhou Xian slowly walked towards Su Wuji. It was not a long walk, but it took him quite some time. Su Wuji did not say anything, nor did he rush Zhou Xian. He just watched. Zhou Xian walked until he was a few meters away from Su Wuji. "Looking for trouble?" Su Wuji coldly replied, "Not interested." Zhou Xian's gaze landed on the table. "It's broken. Compensation." He then walked past Su Wuji, clearly not interested in receiving him. "Where's old crazy?" Su Wuji asked. Zhou Xian stopped, and he happened to be level with Lu Yin. His back was facing Su Wuji. "He broke my new inn's rules, so he should be punished. Are you going to interfere?" Su Wuji solemnly replied, "No matter what, he's still a member of my Horizon Manor. He's done a great service in capturing the spy. Here he has done nothing wrong. He just wants to live," Zhou Xian said coldly. Su Wuji said, "Give me some face and let me take him away." Zhou Xian turned around and met Su Wuji's eyes. "No." Su Wuji's eyes narrowed, but Zhou Xian did not mind. The atmosphere was solemn. Around them a thick killing intent filled the air. With a clang, a guest left. Soon after, a large group of guests left as well. None of them dared to stay behind when facing a virtual realm expert. If they did not die at the hands of the Eternals, then they would be killed by the shockwaves. There were also some guests who didn't want to leave, but the people at the new inn didn't care. They all gathered around Lu Yin and Su Wuji. They showed no respect for Lu Yin, who was a virtual realm powerhouse, and their eyes were filled with murderous intent. Just as the woman had said, if anyone wanted to cause trouble, they would have to step over her dead body. No one in the new inn was afraid of death. Lu Yin coughed and stood up. "Senior Zhou Xian, can you let us see old crazy?" Everyone's eyes focused on Lu Yin, and the pressure on him instantly increased. Zhou Xian's gaze seemed calm, but this person had established the new inn, and his experiences were unimaginable. His calm gaze brought with it a mountainous pressure. "Xianxia?" Zhou Xian asked. Lu Yin bowed. "That's me." Zhou Xian stared at Lu Yin. "You're very good." As soon as he said those words, all of the pressure disappeared. Regardless of whether it was Zhou Xian or the people of the new inn, their gazes towards Lu Yin suddenly became gentle.